Good evening. Welcome to the Greytown Council regular meeting of December 5th, 2023. This meeting is being held in hybrid format as is typical of our current policy. I'll begin with roll call. Councillor Gass.
Present.
Councillor McGuire.
Present.
Councillor Meany.
Present.
Councillor Height.
Here.
And I'm Councillor Chappell. And to my right is interim town manager Josh Tiffany. And we also have members of public safety here in the audience. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So next up is the consent agenda for the, which only has one item in it this evening, for the minutes from November 14th, 2023. I actually have a couple edits. I don't know if others do, so I'm going to remove that from the consent agenda. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes for November 14th, 2023.
So, second?
Okay.
I'm sorry, what were you gonna move off the consent? I had a,
Yeah.
like an edit for the,
Yeah, so
Minutes.
so do I. So that's
Okay.
why I'm removing it from the consent agenda.
okay.
And then I just ask for a motion to approve them. If there had been more than one item in the consent agenda, I would have listed all of the, more than the one.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. We haven't had a consent agenda, I think, this session with more than one thing in
No, I
it.
don't
Yeah,
think we
so.
have. Yep.
So my edits, the first ones are on packet page 7 and 8 in the report from the council chair. They're just some proofreading edits, so I'm not going to list all of them, but I will send those along to staff. And then my second one is on packet page 10 in the last section, where we are approving the adjournment of the meeting. In the box that notes the voting, it says that it was tabled, and rather it should say that
Oh, good catch.
adjournment passed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Otherwise, we'd
The
still
meeting was
be in
to
our
be
meeting.
Oh,
darn.
geez, look at that. I'm looking at it, it's like, what is she talking about? Oh.
But that's all I had, and I'll send those edits as needed. Matthew, you said you had some also?
Yeah, just, it's a minor thing, but, it's on packet page 9, I believe, where it just said, I talked about that, you know, the sheriff's department was at the trunk or treat, and then it says, there's a question mark, and then it says they attended the Vault Trail Extension opening, and I'm not sure if I don't believe that there were any police at the Vault Trail opening. I'm not aware of that. I wasn't saying
Yeah,
that. I don't know.
That's right. I don't think that was the case.
No, they
Strike the
weren't there.
sentence.
Yeah. just
So
like
there,
the
yeah,
sentence.
I just think just strike that sentence.
Yeah.
Where, on packet page 9, you said?
Yeah.
Under
Yeah, the
your...
first paragraph.
First bullet.
First one.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see it now. Okay. Yeah.
I think I was trying to say that, was it Krista and Ann that were at the
Mhm.
Vault Trail? I think I
Yeah.
was saying that, and I must have just bungled the transition from one thing to another, so.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Did you have any other edits?
No.
No. Anyone else have?
I have none.
I think probably I have the same one as you, Krista, packet page 8, the vault is written as V-A-U-L-T.
Yeah,
Oh.
that was one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, it was right in other places.
Right.
It's just, that's an easy miss.
It was probably spell correct. It was,
Yep.
Okay. So I am looking for a vote. Matthew?
Yes?
Marty?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. Okay. Next up is public comments of non-agenda items. Comments are intended for information sharing, not discussion. Comments in excess of 3 minutes are welcome at the end of the agenda prior to adjournment. There's Is there anyone in council chambers who would like to make a comment on non-agenda items? No? And I don't have the list up online here. I don't know, Brad, is there anyone online wishing to make a comment? I don't know if you're, I should have pulled up Zoom. No, he's saying no, okay.
Should that be written as public comments on non-agenda items, or it's written as of non-agenda items?
Should be on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess. I never noticed that before, but it's
Me
probably,
neither.
it's probably in the template.
Notice it now.
Yeah. Okay. So I will close public comment at 7:05 PM. Okay, and now I'm looking for adjustments to the agenda, and I believe we have a couple. Marty, did you have one?
Yeah, the finance committee is entertaining a contract with HRH Smith for auditing, and I'd like to bring that, have that added to vote on.
Okay, so that would be an action item.
Yep.
And then, Dan, you had one?
Yes, I'd like to amend the agenda to move action items 1 through 5 to before presentations on tonight's agenda.
Okay. Okay, so I believe we need to vote on that.
We need
right?
seconds for
Yes,
both.
yes, so do we,
Second.
You can't, yeah.
oh, we need a second on both motions, oh, right, okay, so
You can combine them together, I think. but-
that's what I was doing,
Yeah,
yeah, so I just
But we
was
still,
like,
I'll
Yeah.
second both motions.
okay,
yep.
who? Okay, Matthew's
Both
seconding
addressed,
both, okay, got it. Okay, so Matthew, how do you vote?
Yes.
Marty?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes,
Ann?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. Okay, so we are going to begin then with action item 1, which is to review and act upon approving a bid from IPS for the purchase of battery-powered extraction tools as recommended by the Public Safety Department for an amount not to exceed $45,013.00. Do I have a motion?
So moved?
Second.
Okay, and I'm just, what packet page did that start on?
It's 86,
Thank you. Dense packet.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Chief, you're stepping up. If you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself.
Chief Alcanic,
Yeah.
Gray Public Safety.
Okay. Yeah, would you mind just giving us a quick overview of your RFP process and what we're looking at here? And also, question I had is, I believe this was in the CIP for this year, but I couldn't recall specifically, so I'm not sure. It was it was grant funded, but then we had to have an in-kind match, right? And I don't remember where we had that funds.
In our budget, we have, it's labeled equipment for some reason, but it's a $2,500 fund for grant matches.
Right, okay,
Which doesn't cover the grant, but the rest will come out of our operations budget.
okay,
And this is a grant through AFG. It's 95% covered by the federal government, 5% by the town. And it's part of my long-term goal of reducing our fleet to better match the manpower of what we can expect for the town of Gray for the next 5 to 10 years. In doing that, we'll be combining an engine and our heavy rescue into one truck. And that will allow us to get one truck on the road to a car accident that will provide fire protection, as well as the capability of doing extrication, cutting somebody out of a car. Those are two different tasks that need to be done in that type of an accident, to be done safely. And right now, we have a very difficult time getting enough manpower to do that safely. Now, in order to do that, to get us in a position to do that, we need to be able to fit all the equipment into one truck. And one piece of the pie was to get our SCBA fill station off heavy rescue, which we were able to accomplish last year. And another piece of the pie was to be able to get a lot of the extrication backup stuff, nuts and bolts behind the scenes off the truck, and use battery operated tools. The technology has come a long ways. It's much more, it's very dependable, a lot quicker off the truck and go to work, and uses a lot less manpower. You don't have to have someone watching the controls that run the hydraulic tool, the hydraulic power plant. You can just have someone using the tools and someone watching them. So it puts us in a very, very good position to be able to combine the two trucks into one. So when we were granted we were awarded the grant, we had to either follow the national bid process or our local bid process. And since we have a local bid process, we followed that. And we reached out to 3 local vendors that supplied the top extrication tools, as well as broadcast the bid offering, made it known to the public. But obviously our preference was to have it supplied by a local vendor. So we went out to bid, was out for a bid for about a month, and collected the bids. We identified what the bids were gonna be graded on. We gave each vendor the opportunity to demo or give a description and demonstration of their tools, let us use the tools. And the people that did use the tools graded the tools on 7 or 8 different topics. And the ones that did the best were the Hamatral tools, almost across the board. Safety-wise, ease of use, almost across the board. The only thing that comes to my mind that could be construed as being better on another set of tools was the fact that another set of tools would use Milwaukee batteries.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pros and cons to that. The Milwaukee batteries could snap in just like on a power tool that you would see in your home, but it could get knocked off just as easy. And it's not in a very ergonomic position to do that. The Hamatral battery goes around the tool, so it's in a much better location, and it charges while it's on the tool in the cradle on the truck, as opposed to having to take that battery off, check it, and then put it in the charger and then put it back on. Long story short, hands down, best tool that we evaluated was the Hamatral tools.
Yeah, I thought you made a compelling argument.
Okay,
Yeah, you did.
I'll stop there unless you have any questions.
Yeah, I see that the tools that you're recommending for an award were the highest bidder, but it sounds like there were some safety and usability features that were more amenable to your needs with that brand. So, anyone have any questions for Chief?
No.
I actually did. I'm sorry, because I'm having this sort of memory gap problem because I was on the council for a term and then was off a year and then back on. Could you just remind me the status of the rescue pumper? Was that approved as part of the FY24 budget, or you talked about combining the trucks? Yeah, and I just want to know the status of that piece of it.
The rescue pumper,
Yeah.
we decided not to go in that direction.
Okay.
The rationale for that was the tank truck we have now, a rescue pumper.
Yeah,
That's
that
what we're
was,
talking about now.
that was the combining the two trucks or downsizing that one truck and getting a rescue pumper instead?
Okay, that's the one I was referring to today.
Okay,
And should be, we're gonna be talking about in FY '25.
okay.
Right.
So
Okay.
in this budget process, we'll be talking
We
about that
put some
number.
money aside for it.
Yeah, I think we were
but yeah.
talking about a lease-to-own option
Yeah.
for that going
Okay,
forward.
sorry, I
Yeah.
just was trying to remember and I
Yeah.
couldn't find it in my
But
notes.
I think it came up in last year's budget negotiations, but or not negotiations, but conversations, but we decided to put it off until next year.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right, thanks, sorry.
no, that's fine. Okay. And so, I know it was in here, the town's portion was, you said 5%, which came out to a little under $2,500, is that right, Chief?
Yes. A little over 25.
And you said we had budgeted 2,500 for grant matches. Are you going out for any other grants this year that you would anticipate needing funds for a match?
We'll be going out for, well, provided I can think of something to apply for, I'll be going out for grants. But it won't be approved for anything until after the next budget year.
Okay, yeah. I'm just trying to think of, if we eat up all this budgeted amount for matches right now, if we'll need more later. But it sounds like maybe we could just plan for that
Yeah.
in next year's conversations, yeah. Okay.
Just so I understand, the amount, the amount is 45,000, but that's what we're buying, that's the purchase price, but our share of that is only gonna be the 2,500 or whatever it was.
That's right. Yeah,
Okay.
the total purchase price for the tools that were recommended is $45,013. $45,013. I don't know. I'm having a hard time with that.
There'll be some more money that I have to spend that we'll probably use for mounting brackets, stuff like that. We need to spend the grant money.
Okay. Anyone else have questions?
Yeah.
No? All right. So I will go to a vote. Matthew,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes,
Dan,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes,
and I'm also a yes. Okay, so thank you, Chief.
Thank you all.
Next up was action item 2. So I'm looking for a motion to review and approve awarding the bid for the construction of the Pennell Complex Septic System, demolition of the existing basketball court, and construction of a new parking area behind Newbegin Gym to J. Maxwell Trucking and Excavation in the amount of $362,397 to be paid from the bond issued at town meeting on September 9th, 2023, with a total project cost, including inspection and contingency, of $412,397.
So moved?
second.
I just have a question
Yep, go ahead.
about the wording of this. The bond was issued at the town meeting, is that?
Approved at the town.
It was
yeah,
meeting.
it should be
approved, yeah.
approved, yeah.
Yeah, and then, so in the wording, in the summary wording, which I just read, we have the amount that includes inspection and contingency, and I'd also like to add that to the official motion underneath, which it
Yeah, I
doesn't.
agree,
Should
yeah,
have
I
the
saw that
total
too,
amount.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And this is entirely my apologies. John was out last week, so this is my first crack at doing this solo. So all edits are entirely on my head, and I
Yep, it's mind-boggling. You did a
It's
good job.
not a problem unless we voted it. So
Yeah, exactly,
Up
yeah.
until then, anything can be fixed.
Yeah.
Okay, so add, and then we'll add the,
It's a team effort.
I'm just making a note here.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dan and Matthew, are you okay with those amendments?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes,
Yes.
sorry.
Yeah, but it was Dan and Marty that,
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Dan-
yes, I'm
Dan,
good.
yeah, Marty, so I did write
I'm
Marty and then I said Matthew, sorry.
We should also fix the dollars and cents and the dollar signs to make sure that's all consistent throughout.
Oh, add the dollar sign, you're saying?
And zeros and the pennies.
Yeah, up in
The first one is just ends with a
Okay.
period.
We'll add some pennies on the last one. Sorry, Josh.
No, just zeros representing no pennies, I guess.
Okay, hi Mo.
Good evening, Mo Russo, Director of Buildings and Grounds. So this is to construct the new septic system for the Pennell Complex, demo the existing basketball court, and build the new parking lot. Grohl Palmer was, they did the bid package for this. They sent it out to 32 contractors that they use on a regular basis. Of those 32 contractors, 12 requested a bid package, which was the complete set of plans for the project. And of those 12, 5 responded with the bids that you see this evening. Once the bids were received, Grohl Palmer went through all the bid packages and verified that the bid that they are recommending accounted for all aspects of the project.
So I'm seeing from the packet that J. Maxwell Trucking was also the lowest bidder of those 5.
Yes, that's correct.
Do you, I know you said Goral Palmer was soliciting bids from a number of companies. Is this a company they've worked with in the past that they feel comfortable
Yes, they,
using?
yep. They were one of the 32 that were sent the invitation for the project.
Okay. Anyone else have questions about this? Dan?
The scope of work, Mel, can you remind me, does this include the driveway sort of in and around the gym?
So this project is going to be constructing a new subsurface wastewater field out in the softball field.
Right,
It's gonna include installing, I believe it's 4 manholes for the gravity sewer system on the side of the Pennell Complex that will go from the lab building to Manual Arts to Newbegin. It'll be the installation of 2 new septic tanks to replace the 2 oldest failing ones. It will construct a new parking lot in the place of the existing basketball court, of which there will be the ability to drive around the back of Newbegin or drive into the parking lot and through it behind it.
so people will still be able to drive between the, well, what will be the new rec building and the gym itself?
That's correct.
Okay. And are there any plans to widen the driveway between the gym and the town hall?
No, there's not.
Okay, just trying to, zero in on what the work's gonna be.
And we were potentially reconstructing the basketball courts and also a pickleball court. And is that part of this bid also, or would that be
That is a
later?
separate
That would be
part.
Yeah.
separate, okay. Okay, anyone else? Any questions?
No? Excited to have this come in.
Yeah, I mean, this was a lower amount than what we had budgeted to for this particular portion of the project, right?
I believe what we had estimated was to be about 550,000.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And looking at when we were doing the bid opening, I think it was the second bid they received was over what we had expected.
Yeah.
So it was reassuring that they all kind of
Yeah.
came
Yeah.
out.
Right, yeah, I see one on here for over 700,000, so
Yeah.
it's quite a difference.
Never a good feeling.
And any of the bond money that doesn't get used can be, put back into the bond, so I mean,
Mhm, yeah.
it's not a problem by any means, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I noticed on your memo that you have a anticipated total project cost of $465,847. But then we had on the motion, a total project cost, including contingency, of $412,397. So I'm just wondering which figure we should use.
It's the 412,397.
Okay.
The reason being, Goral Palmer, this memo is from Goral Palmer.
Oh, all right.
They include all work that they do for a project in their total number. of which the 53,450
Oh, the
had come
design
out of
fee.
ARPA and previous fiscal years.
Oh, okay,
So they just are packaging it all together. I did have to double check with Will at Grohl Palmer to make sure that there wasn't something I wasn't accounting for, but that design fee is what we've spent, or what we have previously budgeted to spend outside of the bond.
okay, understood, that makes sense, thank you for clarifying that.
Yep.
Okay, so, are we ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Matthew,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
and also a yes. And just as a reminder, I will reread the motion since we amended it. So ordered, the Gray Town Council authorizes the town manager to sign the proposed bid from J. Maxwell Trucking and Excavation for construction of the Pennell Complex Septic System, demolition of the existing basketball court, and construction of a new parking area for an amount not to exceed $362,397, with a total project cost including inspection and contingency of $412,397.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah,
welcome.
Yeah,
I know
that's
you're-
great. Thanks so much.
yeah, that's great. We're excited to get that work going. Okay, so next up is to review and approve an updated FY '24 fee schedule to set pricing for EV charging. And we have a memo here from Mo on packet page 94. It sounds like you've done some comparison shopping for EVs, yeah?
I did, yes. I kinda wasn't looking in particularly at anywhere, but just kind of a general vicinity of looking for municipalities that had EV charging stations as well as private entities. Just kind of just see what the general consensus was of the charging rates.
Okay, thank you. I'm realizing I didn't ask for a motion, so let me just get, can I have a motion to, what is it? Approve updating the FY '24 fee schedule to include an EV charging fee of 20 cents per kilowatt hour, a $2 per session fee, and a $5 per hour after 4 hours non-charging fee.
So, second?
Okay,
Yeah, everybody's
right.
interested. Move these
Right.
along.
give it to Matthew and then Anna's the second.
Okay.
All right, so.
I didn't even get the words out.
I know. So it looks like this fee at 20 cents per kilowatt hour is a little higher than some, but kind of not as high as Wyndham's private one that you were looking at, which is 50 cents per kilowatt hour. So it seems like we'd be right in the middle, which makes sense to me. I did notice that the per hour charging fee is something that not everyone does, but I don't know. It looks like everybody has kind of different versions of how to go about this. I don't have an EV car, so I'm not familiar with it so much. But Dan, go ahead.
What's our cost associated with these stations?
So we know that we have the electricity cost per kilowatt.
Yeah,
We're gonna have the delivery fee from CMP for that electricity we're
Right.
using.
Right.
I do not know how much ChargePoint charges essentially as that fee, cause it's all, you can structure it so many different ways. So that's why I went with a $2 session fee, which I figured will probably cover any
Delivery fees.
cost of that. So I wanted to not have us pay money to have people charge,
Yeah.
but also not charge exorbitantly.
Yep,
And I
that's-
figure after we see the usage, we can always amend it, whether we need to go up or down.
yep,
Currently, this service is the standard offer. It's not part of our solar array.
okay,
Oh, it's not. Oh, okay.
No, and so the solar array, it's a cascading, so it uses all of our power goes to the meters that use it the most first. So there's that chance that even if it is when it is put on the solar array list, it isn't gonna rate high enough to get the lower rate. So that's kinda why I was like, we'll cover it 20 cents per kilowatt hour, that way we're covering it.
makes good sense.
When will it be reflected in our solar array coverage? I mean, I know that you just said it was cascading and it might never make it
Yeah.
up to the top, but say it,
So,
just to get it on the list as a possibility when.
It's gonna take us a little bit of time, because there's a few other accounts we need to make sure that have been transferred over to that first.
Okay,
But we can get it onto the list for the solar array, and then calculating gets a little trickier, because we pay for the solar array, to the investment company that owns it, plus we pay another fee plus the CMP. So it's, once we get it figured out, we can really dial in what it's cost per kilowatt.
When we built the solar array, the state law at the time penalized installations that generated more than 100% of the power that we needed to use. So at that time, solar arrays were being calculated on roughly 95% of what the need would be. So chances are really good that we don't, you know, that we don't, the solar array is not generating all of the power that we need. And I'd be surprised if this one ever became important enough to end up,
Yeah.
you know, getting that reduced rate. So you know, I think you have a good plan, and like you said, we can make amendments once we have some experience with it. Appreciate that.
yeah,
Yeah.
thanks, Mo. Did anyone else have questions or comments on the
No.
fee structure?
I just appreciate you putting in the non-charging cars still parked there after a period
Yeah,
of time
I-
starting to get charged. I think that was great, and
Yeah,
a way
me
to move
too.
people along and not have it just become a parking spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does happen.
Oh, yeah.
Does that, actually, that raises a question for me. So say someone who does not have an EV vehicle parks there, but they're not actively charging their car, they wouldn't be charged that fee. So how would we encourage people to not use that space as just a parking space?
So as part of our agreement with Efficiency Maine for receiving the money for the project, we have to install signage, at least signage that states that it's for EV charging only.
Okay,
I'm sure it could balloon into part of the parking ordinance and enforcing it. I think it's, a number of municipalities are already dealing with this, and there's really no.
right. It doesn't warrant a call to the police officer generally, I would
No,
imagine.
and like, even we have to, I believe we have to have it in the ordinance, and
Yes.
then we have to provide who our towing service is, and
Oh, gee, yeah.
so it probably costs us more.
Okay, well, hopefully the signage will deter people from using it for that purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait and see if there's a problem.
Very, very little of the parking that gets done out in front of this building is in, you know, sort of a long-term kind of a thing. So even if someone did park there and they didn't have an EV, they're probably not gonna be there for long, so.
Right, right.
I got a question.
Go ahead, Marnie.
Do the fees we're charging cover the town's cost for the electricity?
They should.
yeah.
They should cover, in theory, they're gonna cover all of our costs for this.
But you're gonna keep an eye, you have the ability to keep an eye on the usage and,
Yeah, so ChargePoint, who supplied the chargers for us, has a very robust monitoring system. And it can tell you if there's a car waiting, if it can tell you how often it's used, the peak periods, like you can, the city of Portland dials it into certain hours or certain pricing, and then other hours are different pricing. So it allows you to change it however you want. So
Okay.
we'll know pretty quickly how much it's costing us and
Okay.
whether we need to make adjustments.
All right, yeah, I guess I would just ask if you're noticing some trends that are not covering our expenses, just to raise that for us again,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
So the only other interesting thing is, when we receive the plug-in hybrid, it will be using the ChargePoint chargers, and we'll be able to track that usage separately.
Okay,
So theoretically, it would be great if the price we charge covers the cost of charging the town's EV.
Yeah.
right. Now, when you go to budget for these new vehicles that we'll be leasing that have charging capabilities, are you gonna be able to budget for that in your electrical costs, or will you need a new line item for like, you know, just a different type of fuel essentially? I don't know.
So the RAV4 is the only plug-in hybrid. The truck is just a straight
Straight
hybrid.
hybrid, yeah.
So it's gonna be, we're gonna have to just look to see what we brought in for revenue on, because the EV chargers have their own meter. So it's not like it's supplying power to anything else, it's
Okay.
just that charging system.
All right,
So we'll be able to see how much power the plug-in hybrid used to charge.
go ahead, Dan.
Though there's no need to plug in the hybrid, so,
No, but we have
The-
one
the
that
rev-
was both, it was,
I understand it's
Yeah, oh,
both,
okay.
but there's no need to plug it in.
The RAV4 does.
It has to be plugged in?
It's strictly a plug-in hybrid, it does not recharge from the engine.
Gotcha, okay. Didn't realize that.
I've had to learn a lot about how these different things
Mm.
work.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I guess, pardon me, I just have a question about the structure of the fee for, $5 per hour after 4 hours of non-charging fee. So does that mean somebody can park there without charging for 4 hours before the $5 per hour fee kicks in?
So the way it really only captures it is if somebody parks their vehicle there and they leave it overnight and they're using it to charge up overnight, and 8 o'clock in the morning comes around and their vehicle's fully charged, but they don't pick it up until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because that spot was used essentially without the ability to collect revenue, they'll get charged for those 2 hours between 12 and 2 of them just parking there. That's because until they remove the plug from the vehicle, even if it's no longer charging, it registers that vehicle is in that spot.
Right, if they're plugged in.
Correct.
Right, so somebody could conceivably occupy the spot all day long, like park it there at 8 o'clock and charge for, what does it take, 2 hours to charge, and then have 4 hours where they wouldn't be dinged for taking that space and not charging.
Correct.
Do you think that's too long, or are you,
Well, 4 hours, the overnight thing, I could see, well, we wanna give them some slack if they're gonna be parked there when nobody, like at 2 o'clock in the morning, I don't wanna charge them $5 an hour for that, but,
I wouldn't mind.
but,
The other reason I weighed that is that with the expanded parking, the eventual construction of the fields on the gateway parcel, the whole complex being used more often, I figured it was one of those things where it's also public space. So if somebody's there for, they come in, they plug in, and they're here for some event going on, but they've they charged what they needed to, but now they're just parked there, rather than have them make them move like 2 spots over for that event, that's why I went with like that 4-hour grace period.
I think we'd get into it and see what,
right.
Yeah,
come
and
back
I mean,
and tell us.
yeah, and it looks like a lot, not, some people aren't even doing a charge for just parking, so, I think to have it there and then to have a good length of time between when someone's done charging and then starting this fee, I think.
Right, they're
Fine.
costing us money if they're parked there and not charging,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good. The fee schedule's good.
Yep.
All right, let's go for a vote then. Ann,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes,
Marty,
No,
Matthew,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay. Okay, now I'm looking for a motion to approve changing the name of the Town of Gray Buildings and Grounds Department to Facilities and Parks Department.
So moved.
Second?
Josh, would you like to give a little background on this, or do you want Mo to take?
I would honestly defer to Mo.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, Mo.
So I laid out a number of points in this memo. What we do kind of gets misconstrued, and the feeling is that facilities and parks better represent all aspects of what we do. Since there's been the shift in staffing and the the new recreation director. It kind of left parks out by itself without any home essentially. So that was the feeling, was that since this department takes care of all of the parks anyways, that just so that way people know where that reporting goes to, and who takes care of it, it kind of it would clean things up.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I feel like grounds kind of covers parks, but if you feel like it will clarify, this for both your staff and the public, then, I mean, I'm fine with, I don't have a problem with changing the name.
And facilities covers more than just
Right,
buildings.
exactly, facilities is more encompassing than just buildings, I get that. Anyone else? have
Is there, I
comments?
mean, are there any downsides to changing the name? It doesn't seem like there would be.
Right, I
but
don't know
are-
if if there's a lot of work behind the scenes with like record keeping or anything, like I don't
I
know.
believe there's only like 3 documents that we have to change the title in.
Okay.
It's
You could change your email signature.
change my email signature, yeah, so, and like one of the things is like, my title is technically facilities manager, director of buildings and grounds. So there's been, since just the 5 years I've been here, it's been this kind of battle back and forth as to what do we do, and, what's the title?
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I guess would it impact his title then?
No,
Would you-
I mean, not
Yeah.
anything more than probably a status change form would clean up. And it was, one of the last things Nate did some research on finding out how many ways that buildings and grounds were at all codified in there. And there was, I think, one mention in one document as an officially designated department. So really it is just pretty much maintenance and cleanup for a couple days or a week, and then it's easy to go.
And that would include ordinances too.
Yes, I think, again, there was only, I think, one document that we remember. I think it
I think there was like one ordinance, there was the emergency management plan, and then there's the Lily Hill maintenance agreement, just need to be amended.
I mean, I think that it qualifies as a clerical change in the ordinance, so there's no need for us to act on that.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure, and
Yeah.
Josh proposed it, and I thought it would
Yep.
err on the side of caution putting it as a vote, but do we want to table it as like we don't need to vote on it, or do you, I don't know.
I don't feel a need to table it myself.
No,
Okay.
I think-
I do have a question though.
Okay, go ahead.
I just assume like on vehicles and stuff, those names will change as equipment gets replaced and things.
I can, with the sign
Oh,
cutter
there
we
you-
purchased last year,
So it's not paint, it's.
no, they're just vinyl letters, they'll
Okay.
get stripped off and they'll be
Good.
swapped out.
Oh, excellent.
So, our uniforms won't change until the next fiscal
Yeah,
year. We're not
exactly.
gonna go out and buy new uniforms for that.
Yep.
But the vehicles will switch over easy enough. We can install the sign on the new building on Turnpike Acres, so,
Excellent.
And the website.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the website, yeah. Okay, well, since it's on here and just check all the boxes, why don't we officially vote on it then? Matthew,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes.
Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Thank you, Mo.
Thank you, Rose.
That was your last one, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay. All right,
Have a good
thanks.
evening.
Have a good
Thank
night.
You're welcome to
Right.
stay if you want.
Yeah.
I'll take a rain jacket.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so we had moved 1 through 5 up, so,
Correct.
next I'm looking for a motion to authorize changes to the personnel policy, including definition of years of service, meal breaks, and to reorganize content.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, so we had, just for those watching, a very, very lengthy workshop with John Hart, our Human Resources Director, about a week ago, I don't remember the exact date, where we went over all the changes in the personnel policy that he was recommending, and we discussed our comfort level with some of them. We also suggested a couple other edits, which he has noted and reflected in this most recent copy. So,
Good night.
I didn't really have any questions. I felt like we covered a lot of them at the workshop, and I was comfortable with the current draft. I don't know how others feel, or if you have thoughts, comments, or,
Yeah,
Yeah,
just,
go ahead.
I'm not gonna, I'm gonna vote against this, I just
Okay.
wanna be able to explain why.
Sure.
There's, without getting into it again, because we did have a pretty lengthy conversation about it, and with John's help, I think vetted it pretty well, but there are just some changes in here that I can't support, that I think actually are a mistake to make. But we've been over all that, so there's no need to go through it again here.
Okay. Anyone else want to make comments about the changes? No? Okay, so I will go to vote. Matthew?
Yes.
Marty?
Yes,
Dan?
No,
Anne?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, so passes 4-1. Okay, so now we need to go back to our, that was it for the adjustments to the agenda, so now we're
Except
on.
for the RFP. For HRH.
Oh, right, sorry.
RHR,
Yep.
RHR.
So, but do we want to add that as part of,
It's not currently on the
the-
agenda, so we can put it at the end if you wish, I believe.
yeah, why don't we just put that at the end?
yeah. There's
Um,
nobody waiting to.
Right, so that will be action item number 9, the RHR action item. So then I will return to the portion of the agenda which we skipped, which was presentations, but it's actually presentations and discussions this evening, which begins on packet page.
So,
I don't- Go back up.
70 is the start of the MDOT.
Oh, because we put RHR in there. Okay, right.
Yeah.
Packet page 70 then. Or 69 has, well, the packet page 70 is where they're,
yeah, the first page of the cooperative agreement starts, yeah.
well, there's, no, we have,
Or to-
no, we put, so we had the,
Oh, right, yeah.
we had the line, the red lined version of the cooperative
right,
agreement
sorry,
above
yeah.
that, and then we
Yep.
had some comments from council and staff that were submitted, and then we had the I think it was the accepted version?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the red line version starts on packet page 54.
Yeah.
So I was using
about
that
that.
because I found it a little easier, but. I actually was, really pleased with the state this was in. I think the first time we reviewed what was an MOU, I don't know, months ago, it was probably this spring, there was sort of a lot of question marks I still had about the language and what it meant. And this iteration not only incorporates a lot of things that we've discussed in our meetings with the DOT since, but it looks like it also reflects some of their new policies about complete streets and things. So I was quite pleased with the content in here. I did have some suggested edits, which were farther down. I should have written down these packet pages, but Josh, you had submitted some content, and I had a page here. Oh yeah, packet page 68 were my edits, and packet page 69 were Josh's. So I can just go. I think what we had decided was we were just going to go through each section and find commonalities between our edits. I don't know if anyone else has had a chance to look through it and wanted to add to it as we go. We could just add as we go through each section, or
Yeah, I think if we just go page by page, and if someone has something they wanna add,
okay. Yeah, why don't we do that?
maybe.
I'll have
Which
to-
version do you wanna go through page by page, the final one? Or the,
I
latest
was
draft?
finding the red line version easier to read, but
Okay.
I don't.
I don't have a preference.
It's at the.
In mine, the one that starts on page 70 has still got track changes on it.
Oh yeah, that looks
Well,
like it
that-
was the track changes from
That was actually-
MDOT.
That was a working document that was replaced and updated that I put in the wrong document into the agenda packet.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Okay.
so I
So
think
I
we
think
should
disregard,
70
Yeah, I
through
Oh, okay.
whatever.
It's pretty much a rehash with the formatting kind of done up and then a lot of other comments on there, but nothing I believe was changed from the original document in that one. If I got that
Okay,
right.
so we're starting on page 54?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
'Cause
just,
yeah, I thought it was, yeah, anyway.
so, sorry, I'm just pulling up my notes on a different sheet because I can't keep jumping back and forth in the packet. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, it's quite a voluminous packet to do.
Yeah, it was a little confusing because they don't have page numbers on this, so.
No,
too,
they,
so-
yeah.
Oh, on the line item one, they don't have page?
Yeah, they didn't.
Right.
So, we're gonna have to go section by section, I think.
Can we use the
Well,
packet
we get
page
packet
numbers?
Yeah,
pages.
but we can
Well,
use
but they don't
packet
align
page,
with
yeah.
our comments is what I think
Yeah.
she's
Oh.
saying.
Right.
Here are my comments. Okay, I'll just read the sections.
Yeah,
I just gotta say, I'm a little irked that it would even go out with another town's name in the footer.
Yeah.
Oh, but they probably, I don't think we were meant
was
to.
sloppy.
If you accept the changes, they go away.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, that was a little bit sloppy, but yes.
okay, so, Josh, I don't know how I'm gonna balance your comments again. I don't think we had any comments that were the same.
No, my work is some overarching that may be
Okay,
just
I don't,
based.
maybe you can just, I'll
Okay.
go through mine and then,
we just take turns, I think.
yeah,
Yeah,
if you can
okay.
just have yours up
Less
to reference.
confusing.
Yeah, okay. I've got like 80 tabs open, I'm sorry, everybody. Okay, so the first page of the cooperative agreement was the summary sheet where it's talking about, the monetary allocations, and when I was reading the cooperative agreement, first I was confused by this summary, but it sounds like, the DOT is counting all the design work we've already done on Yarmouth Road towards our total. And then they're gonna pitch in for another initial, another $250,000 for our initial design work. And then we're not expected to put in anything else unless we go over some unanticipated,
Unless we change the scope.
just we
Yeah,
change the scope,
Exactly,
right,
or try to add stuff, yeah.
Yep, we
Right.
change the scope of the work.
Yeah.
It's
right.
on us.
So the recitals section, section A, I had a comment in section A because in the first paragraph under, recitals section A, it references Route 26A,
Yes, yep.
which is no longer, a road. We've redesignated that as 26. And so I had just said that
Oh,
we
that's a
should,
good catch.
Yeah.
we should match, not only take that designation away, but we should also match what's, outlined in the scope of work on section I. Because that, I had page 5, section I, where was that? It says Main Street extending from the terminus of the I-95 northbound ramps northerly along Main Street for approximately 0.82 miles to Wayne Avenue. And then it explains the Yarmouth Road also. So I just thought we could pull up that language into section A under recitals. Section B under recitals, paragraph 1. The second project, south of Wayne Ave is noted as the Village Partnership Initiative, which is technically an official DOT program, and then I wasn't really sure we had joined the Village Partnership Initiative. I didn't know if they actually meant to write the Village Transformation Project here. I was,
Village Partnership Initiative is an MDOT program,
right.
and I think when we went back to working with with Dale as opposed to Ernie, that's the program he runs, but I think it's worth asking them about it. I'm
Okay.
just not sure, yeah.
yeah, because I don't know if they've never said we were officially part of
Yeah,
that
I agree, yeah, it was a little confusing.
project, so I mean, I guess if we are, that's fine, but,
Excuse me for interrupting you, Krista.
Go ahead.
What packet page are you on? Because I'm in
Sorry.
recitals and I don't see
Yeah,
any of
so-
what you're.
recitals section B now has 2 paragraphs.
What-
It-
71.
Oh, okay, I'm not even
Packet page-
close.
Oh, sorry, I'm on packet page 55, because I
Ah.
was using the red line
Okay,
version.
that, sorry,
That, yeah.
back at page
55B, section B under recitals has 2 paragraphs, and I'm talking about the first paragraph where they talk about,
Oh, I see, all right,
Wayne
I'm
Ave-
missing the relabeling, gotcha.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out the second paragraph. Okay, I'm with you, sorry.
so they said it's advancing as a village partnership
Yes.
initiative, which was, I was unaware of that, so it was a question I had.
Well, and I was unaware of that too, and I don't feel like I know what the either constraints or benefits of that are.
Yeah, I couldn't advise you, yeah.
I mean, I don't know what we're agreeing to by saying that
Yeah.
that's gonna be the controlling factor.
That's kind of why I raised it, because I
Right.
wasn't
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, good catch.
I mean, before we sign this, I feel like we have to find out that.
Right, we are scheduled to vote on it this evening,
Yeah,
so perhaps we need to,
I think we're gonna have to table it myself.
I think so too, actually. I think there's
Um,
gonna be enough, questions,
yeah.
that we'll need to resolve with them,
Yeah.
so. I
well, we
agree.
can add it to the 19th agenda if
Yeah.
we feel like we get sufficient answers
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
from them.
I think, the other piece I'm a little confused about is we also talked about splitting, Yarmouth Road off from Main Street because of the costs and the fact that we were gonna tap out the full federal grant if we go that way. It won't be enough to pay for the whole project. But the MOU appears to include both. And I don't know if we needed to, within the MOU, differentiate that somehow, I'm not sure.
Right, I mean, I think it's worth another conversation with them about that. I mean, they have been wanting to move ahead with, combining them.
Yeah,
I raised a question in my comments about the total federal share, because they have it listed as 25 million, and I think that it could be as much as 30 million, under the terms of the raise grant, so, I mean, there was also some talk of trying to split Yarmouth Road off and get it done through some other funding source earlier, but I don't know the status. I mean, I think that's a bit of a long shot.
Yeah, my understanding from our conversations with them more recently was that grouping them together would give us a better chance of receiving the federal money, whereas if we don't, we're not gonna be as competitive because it's not as large of a village area.
yeah, and what, I'm gonna preface what I say next is not a complaint, but I think it's our own process that we have to work through, because we're trying to accelerate the way that we can do this work by divvying it up amongst us. But what happens is, I think, naturally, is, the people that are directly involved with this have a better understanding of what the project is, and then actually what gets conveyed through the stuff that other people who aren't those point people get. And so I think that's where the question in my mind about the initiative, the breaking it apart, because I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, we decided to split these apart again. Because,
Did we?
I don't think we did,
I don't recall
I don't recall making that
I don't-
decision.
well,
I know we discussed it.
well,
but-
and that's part of the
Yeah.
problem, we have all these discussions, but it's unclear, I guess, what we've decided to do to me. I'm feeling a little muddled, to be quite honest with you, about the Yarmouth Road Main Street project.
I mean,
And maybe that's just me.
I think originally
No,
we were,
no.
I think originally we were splitting it off, but then when figures came back, the whole reason we've decided to pursue the raise grant was because the figures came back for Yarmouth Road and they were much, much higher than we had originally anticipated, and the MPI and the TIF money we'd set aside was no longer going to fund the full cost of just Yarmouth Road,
Right,
which
but
is
it was-
why we decided to bundle it and pursue the raise grant.
But then we had a discussion that the cost of both projects together was going to be more than what the raise grant would provide for us. And so we had a discussion about, well, do we break Yarmouth Road off? Is there something that we can get done more quickly in another way? And that's where
I guess I thought I'm not recalling that I thought we had talked about it being more expensive than the raise grant, only if we pursued things like sewer and underground utilities, but
Well, we are still thinking about
we're
pursuing
thinking of,
underground
yeah, we're,
utilities, so.
leaving room for that or requesting it, but it's certainly not a guaranteed thing if we can't get funds to support it, but,
Well, if we can't get, that's the point, if we can't get the funds to support it, it torpedoes it from the beginning, that's my concern, that we're gonna get roped out of maybe doing some of the things that we talked about doing.
Well, if we added language to the effect that, unless funding becomes available that allows the Yarmouth Road to be done under separate, some sort of qualification like that, if funding becomes available that allows us to pursue Yarmouth Road separately, but I agree with, I would agree with Krista. I mean, I recall having that conversation, but not, having made the decision to separate them, and I think there is some compelling reason to kind of keep them together, at least as far as MDOT is concerned. I can't comment on.
yeah,
They've been successful in
But
a
I-
couple rounds now.
I agree with Dan, but at least I think it's important to understand what the status of the underground utilities is. Is by lumping these together, are we saying we're not looking to pursue that anymore, or not?
The message we received from our state legislators was to just put in everything on our wish list and hope that we can receive the grant with that in mind. If we don't get everything, I think we will still, and we're still awarded the federal grant, I think we will still have sufficient funds to do a majority of what we'd like to see, and certainly that is way better than not pursuing it at all, in my
Well,
opinion.
I would agree with that, but the majority part is, what part of the majority is an important consideration in my mind. I don't wanna go into this project thinking that we're not gonna be able to do, or knowing up front that we're not gonna be able to do everything we're planning to do. That doesn't make any sense to me. Or if we're going to go into it saying, this is what we'd like to do, we may not get enough money to that. Okay, well, what are our priorities? In decreasing order, what things are we gonna cut out of the plan in order to meet that number? And then we know upfront what we've agreed to.
Well, I think this cooperative agreement is allowing the DOT to figure that out, because we will have to sign subsequent agreements for a second design phase and a construction phase, once we know those details. This is allowing them to work with us, essentially, to get the grant application prepared. That was, I don't think this MOU is gonna cover, this initial design phase MOU is not gonna cover every detail, because they don't know every detail
Right, we
yet.
don't know the answers yet.
Yep.
That was my understanding of it. I don't know, perhaps some of us, I don't know, we could go through it and
Yeah.
raise the, anything we have concerns with, and then decide at the end how we'd like to proceed. Okay, where was I? Paragraph 2, section B, under recitals. They have, village, what do they call it? The Gray Village Development Vision, which I didn't know what that meant. I thought perhaps they meant the Gray Transformation Project. To develop a vision for improvements to Gray Village, the Gray Village Development Vision.
Yeah, I think we should change the name of that,
Yeah. We do have a Gray Village Master Plan, but
Yeah.
I think they're referring to what we've titled the Gray Transformation Project.
Well, even that's new. We don't, I'd not heard of the Great Transformation Project before. Ann and I had a little side conversation about that. That was not a title that we've ever used before. The master plan one's familiar to me.
Yeah. The Village Transformation Project, but I've been referring to it as that, the VTP, and just because I felt like we needed some sort of way to refer to it in a shorthand way, and that seemed like that, met our goals, and people seemed to like it. So I mean, I'm not wed to it. I don't know if you want to vote on it formally, but I think it's, we do need something besides, a lengthy sentence about improvements to Main Street and Yarmouth Road.
But, so do I understand then that the village transformation project equates to the master plan, essentially? It's just a different,
No, it's this, the Gray Village Master Plan is something that was done a number of years ago.
Yeah, that's
and,
probably
yeah,
outdated
Yeah.
at this point.
okay.
I think
So, yeah, I guess
we've just been rebranding this large project, what we've been calling the RAISE grant, which isn't really defining what it is, as the Village Transformation Project, but,
okay. Well,
it's
I mean,
it's sort of been an internal
Yeah.
term.
Okay, well, I mean, it should be written down somewhere, what it's shorthand for, I guess. I mean, I have an idea of what it is, but,
I mean, I've been referring to it as that in my written communications to the council.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I've seen it. I've seen the phrase before, but it would be good to be clear on what it encompasses.
Perhaps we could add a short definition in the first reference to it for this MOU. They also refer to it in section C under recitals also a second time, Gray Village Development Vision. Recitals section H is where
Just so I'm sorry, I keep
No.
interrupting, but, so the idea is where they say, Gray Village Development Vision, we would substitute VTP for that.
right, with a
Okay.
short explanation of what we mean. Okay, I was gonna jump to section H unless others had stuff in between sections C and H for recitals. No, okay.
I think the only thing I thought was that bundling together DOT's Main Street project, that's, I mean, they have a new name, I think, for what they're doing. It's Main Street North, I think, or something like that.
Yeah,
So that's fine. So once those are differentiated, I think that's okay.
yeah, I think we just need to clarify those names and
Yeah.
just make sure
Yeah.
we're using the same names to
Yeah,
refer to the same things.
just start using
Yeah.
the same,
Right,
labels.
okay. In section H, I had a question.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at, maybe I'm going out of order here, but, if you look at 2A on packet page 56, under agreement, there does seem to be a definition of village transformation
Yeah, it is.
project there.
It is,
2A.
yeah, that's part of the purpose and need.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think,
yeah, I actually wrote that, that's
You
why
did-
it's in there.
Yeah,
right. So, I mean, yeah, where,
I think
I
it's just
guess,
backing the bus up to
Yeah.
the beginning of the document.
right,
is
so
all.
maybe
Yeah,
just
yeah.
reference
I think
that
consistency,
definition.
yeah.
Yeah,
Dale's been really, really on the fly, he's been doing a lot of travel and.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah, and to make sure
he's
that
got it
the
looked.
things that they're mentioning are actually meant to be the VTP versus some other project we're gonna sign off
Yeah,
on.
right, we just need to be clear. Are we going through this consecutively or all providing our comments
yeah, I'm sorry.
so I,
all at once?
Josh and I had typed up some comments, so I was, which are in the packet, so I was following first my comments, and then Josh was gonna chime in if his
I
came
think right
up.
around 61 is where I
Yeah,
started to top
his
up, so I'll
came
definitely
along.
Yeah,
jump in
and
then.
I have comments as well that didn't make it into the
Okay.
packet, unfortunately, and that was my error.
So I'm gonna go through my comments. If I skip over a section in which you have a comment, just
Okay.
let me know and we'll stop and go to one of your
Okay,
comments.
I think it might be just easier to go consecutively, that's fine.
Okay, would you want me to just go,
Yeah, keep
line by
going.
line? I can go D, E, F, do you want me to, what do you mean by consecutive? Do you want-
Like one after the, one of
Yeah,
us,
so you
like
go
go
next.
through all of your stuff.
Oh,
and
go
then-
through all my, okay, sure, we can do that,
And
yeah.
then like when you hit one of mine, I'm gonna say, okay, I had this one on this
No,
section.
you're gonna wait till she's done. Then
Yeah.
you're gonna have
Whichever
your
way works.
turn.
Yeah,
I think is what we're trying to
Okay,
Right.
sort through.
perfect.
I was just trying to hit everything
One
as we.
driver at a
Word
time, got it.
Trying to edit by committee is really hard.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine, we'll do each get a turn, and then,
Yes.
Yeah.
that's fine, we can do it that way if that's how folks wanna do. Okay, so I'm on section H under recitals, where they discuss, the initial design phase, which is what this cooperative agreement, is outlining, and it says, when and if the parties allocate additional funding to the combined project, the parties will enter into a separate final design and construction cost-sharing agreement. I was just wondering if we could input here some sort of estimated timeline for determining if the parties, the town and the DOT, will advance beyond this initial design phase. I don't know. I know that's really dependent on applying for the grant and things like that. It's just, it still feels a little vague, like there's no deadline here, so I don't.
If it's set in time to apply for the next round of funding, something along that, is that what you're thinking?
Yeah,
of, like,
I just
for-
don't want it to be, 3 years of initial design phase and we still haven't.
I don't know, do you
agreed to
think they
move
would go
forward.
for that?
No idea. We can but ask. I think it's fair to ask. I mean,
Yeah.
put as a goal,
To finish the design in
Complete
time to
design,
apply
yeah.
for the next round of federal funding? Or something to that effect?
Because both parties need to agree to advance beyond the initial design
Yeah.
phase, but there's just no timeline for that agreement that in here, so that's why I'm, it could be forever, but hopefully not, but,
and that's on us as much as.
yes,
DOT.
yes, I understand
Yeah,
that, but
yeah.
if we could have some sort of
Hold each other's feet to the fire.
reference to
Yeah.
a deadline here, I think that would be helpful.
Yep.
So I'm jumping ahead to the agreement section, which I guess is not jumping, it's the next area. Section 2, Part B, which is the needs.
Yep.
I was wondering if we could add an additional bullet to incorporate underground road space for potential future infrastructure like utilities and sewer, because that isn't referenced anywhere.
Yep, good catch. there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hang on.
So, yeah. Yeah,
It's the potential for this, so
the
having.
agreement should include design standards for all underground utilities, even those in the future, yeah.
Mhm.
Including, I think if you just put including sewer, gas, or any others.
Right, essentially leaving space for it,
Yep.
even if we don't build it.
I was thrilled to see that one, I'm all on that.
Okay. Section 2, under agreements, Part C, bullet 4 under I. Let me see, bullet 4 under I. What did I write here?
Which packet page
Change,
you-
change route 201 to 202.
Two, yeah.
And then,
What page are we on?
Scope
I'm
of
sorry.
work.
sorry, I'm on packet page
58.
58, yes.
Middle of the page, yep.
And then section 2, Part C, bullet 7 under II. Bullet 7. One,
Same
two-
page?
Yep,
Packet page 58.
Yep.
1, 2,
Is that
3,
visual
4,
cues?
5, 6. Yeah, visual cues.
Uh-huh.
well, you should use numbers.
Can we have a specific motor vehicle target speed of 25 miles per hour listed there?
Yeah, I had the same question, yeah.
Yeah.
What do we have now?
30.
Well, it just says
They're probably gonna come back at you
to
and
support motor vehicle target
Yeah.
speeds, but it doesn't say what.
they're probably gonna come back at you and say, even they don't get to determine what the speed limit is, but I think we should ask.
Well,
Yeah.
they said in one of our meetings that they were comfortable with a 25 mile per hour
Yes.
limit, as long as we had a lot of the,
'Cause we were
things that
talk-
we were putting, for the visual cues they're referring
Yeah.
to, that as long as we
We
were.
were talking about 20 originally, was the goal, when the principal.
I think they were pretty clear that that
Yeah,
wasn't likely.
15 was the absolute not, and then
Yeah.
like 25 was the might be able to
Yeah.
work that. Seemed to be their game, seemed to be
Yeah.
their play.
Okay.
Of course, it does run against their zero pedestrian effort, so there is a
Right.
conflict there on their part, which is why I don't mind pushing them.
Yeah, I think we should push them.
Well, perhaps we ask for 20 miles per hour then. I would like to see a number there rather than
Yep.
just a general,
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I just go for 20 and see what happens. would be
Okay.
My
I'll
suggestion.
make that note.
Can I throw in a quick note that,
yeah, go
can you
ahead.
put that to, in bullet point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, same bullet point, Collie Hill Road, rather than just Collie Road?
Oh, yes, that
good
is Collie
catch.
Hill. Yep, I missed that. Yep.
Well, I didn't catch it till now, and it's where I live, so.
That's why a lot of people have to read it.
Yeah,
Okay, so agreements, section 2, part C, bullet 8, under II. They say, to the extent practical, pedestrian crossings that align with the Pennell, with the Pennell Municipal Complex. I would prefer to see more of a commitment with that language. I think that, our
Shall.
pedestrian crossings should align with the Pennell
Or
complex,
shall, I
or
mean,
shall,
if you want it to be.
Shall is,
It's the to the extent practical language that
Right.
gives me pause.
No,
Yeah,
that-
just,
that's
if
their
it just said pedestrian crossings that align with Pennell Municipal.
Yeah,
And
right,
Yeah, and I know, the reason they've put that in there is because that pedestrian crossing is in essentially quote-unquote the wrong spot. I mean, it's close to the intersection, and ideally you'd want the pedestrian crossing to be at the intersection rather than 50 or 100 feet past the intersection.
because the vault trail comes out
Yeah.
not aligned with the intersections you're talking
But
about.
then, to some extent, they can influence that depending on how they build the intersection for Collie Hill Road and Main Street.
Well, or we perhaps move the trail, extend the trail in some way that aligns with where they made the intersection, but,
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
think there's other things that you can do with barriers and stuff too. I mean,
mhm,
I like your idea of asking for that.
mhm,
The reason, unfortunately, the planning board torpedoed the Vault Trail extension connecting there was because of their safety concerns with people crossing the street.
right, I recall that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, ask for it for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, under agreement, section 5, part A, which is on packet page 61, in lines 7 through 9, they refer to appropriate milestones. Just trying to find it where, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The DOT will be the sole administrator of such design contract. Maine DOT will share proposed designs with the municipality at appropriate milestones to ensure that the municipality has the opportunity to collaborate with Maine DOT on the final design. And I just want to make sure that any of their so-called appropriate milestones are at a point of the design where it's still in draft phase, because I don't want to see something final come back here and have us not be able to edit it.
Don't you feel like that's what that last line does? I mean, has the opportunity to collaborate with MDOT on the final design? Is that not good enough for you?
Well, then you have the next line, which says, notwithstanding such collaboration, MDOT will have the sole discretion to determine which elements are included in the final design.
Right, that's kind
And that
of,
was actually one of my points.
Yeah.
yeah.
So that
it's-
was one where it's like, are we giving, again, I don't know if this is standard for kind of working with an
No, that's a
MDOT
good
type
point.
organization. But to me, I read that and I was like, that's giving away a lot with no
Yeah.
recourse. If we're like, here's everything we agreed on, and they're like, okay, we're gonna chuck out everything you want, and we're gonna, I'm not at all saying they're gonna do this, but
Right.
just, if we have no recourse or no language around it, we really are stuck with whatever they say we're gonna do.
That's a-
So that last sentence is really the issue.
Yes, yeah, I suppose I didn't flag it, but when I was reading it, it
Yeah.
probably raised a flag with it subconsciously, I don't know, but,
Yeah, no, that's.
But the milestones,
Yeah,
but the milestones are
appropriate-
also a really important part to
right,
have in
like
there too.
what, right, when are those milestones and do they align with draft
Right.
Yeah.
forms of,
Yeah, I will say that, I think we want to preserve the opportunity to, have input into the design at appropriate milestones. It's true that once they, once we move towards applying for the federal grant, I mean, they're gonna have to,
It all gets
own
cemented
a
in
lot of
place,
that,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they own the implementation, so I can see why they want control. And they have their own state mandates, but, you know, they're, you know, just trust issues here that, we are still working out, and
Yeah.
that's the reality of where we are.
Gotta express our concerns and
Yeah,
ask for more, ask for as much control as we can
Yeah,
wrench back.
I think it just, asking them, when we read that you can basically veto
Yeah,
the final
Right.
design,
Right.
and that doesn't feel like a partnership.
Right.
See what they say.
Mhm.
I mean, I understand that they need to take ownership of it at some point, but it didn't feel like that was, at least the way it's worded here, I didn't feel like it was at that point yet. If they were still coming to us, we should still be able to edit.
Yeah.
Um,
They take ownership after we agree on the design.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
so next I had agreements, section 5, part B.
Next paragraph.
I'm sorry, say that again, Krista?
Section 5, part B, under agreements, which is on packet page 62.
Okay,
I think it's just similar to what we were just talking about. So it says MDOT is responsible for all the listed activities here, and that just wondering if the town will have input before anything is finalized, particularly we would need input before the final PDR, which is noted in Part D. PDR is
yeah,
That
the
design.
preliminary design report.
yeah.
So that, yeah, that's just similar to the note I had before. Agreement section 6.
Project milestones.
Yeah, it's kind of packet page 62 and 63.
Yep.
I would just like to add a design check-in bullet prior to the preliminary design report.
You wanna add a bullet that says design check-in?
Yeah,
Okay.
Add a bullet that says what?
that we need a design check-in meeting or something to that effect before the preliminary design report.
Like final design check-in or something like that?
Yeah, so preliminary design report complete is bullet 4.
Yeah,
And so the first bullet is project kickoff and the initial public contact. Then a horizontal vertical alignment,
yeah,
whatever that is, and then another public meeting, and then the preliminary design report is complete. But then there's no, from what I can tell, there's no point of contact with the municipality before that.
yeah, no, good point, yeah.
That's a terrible acronym.
I have to say,
A PDR?
No,
What?
HV.
Oh, the HVAC?
Yeah.
Something else.
absolutely. Not to get too far off, but when I first got on the council, the MDOT presented us with changes for the North Raymond Road and Route 26 intersection. And we were so late to that party that they basically said if we didn't accept what they were presenting us with, they'd postpone the project. And we basically said, go ahead, and postponed it a year. Well, actually, I think it was more than a year in the end. It ended up being 2, in order to get the design things that we needed to for that intersection. We are so far ahead of where we were
Yeah.
then. That, Ann's comment about trust triggers it. I think if you guys would bring to MDOT just that fact and say to them that, while we're still working this out and it's not perfect yet, I think about this process and then think about the North Raymond Road Route 26 project, and we're light years further down the road, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think it would, maybe those people weren't players at the time, I don't know, but I think it would be good for them to even reflect on the fact that maybe they still consider us a pain in the butt, but we're learning and understanding their processes to the extent now that we're much better plugged in.
Mhm.
And I think we're working together a lot better than we did back then.
Yeah, I would agree.
Sorry for that little
No,
aside,
it's
but
good. point to note. I have been pleased with our progress the last few
Yeah,
months.
I mean, for all the corrections in here, this is like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, none of them felt like something that was gonna derail this whole process. They
Right.
really just felt like fine tuning.
yeah, I agree, yeah,
Yeah.
no, absolutely.
And so I'll finish up my fine tuning here.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was happy to have your point. Under that same section, section 6, under agreements, the last bullet notes that information sharing is as requested by the municipality. I think I noted this in the original MOU draft, that I would really like to see something noted here about regular check-ins, which we are having, because Anne's been doing a great job following up, but I don't think it should just be all on us. I think we should have some regular
It'd
meetings.
be like bi-monthly
Yeah.
or something like that,
Let's see, section 10.
or monthly even, maybe, it's too much,
Yeah, depending on what's going on.
part of the project, yeah.
Yeah.
So I jumped ahead to section 10, general provisions, which is on packet page 64. Part A says, it references municipal inspections and permits associated with the combined project, and that the municipality shall not require MDOT or its contractors to pay any of those. I just wasn't sure what that meant. Are we talking about permit fees that we
Yes.
have on our zoning
Yeah.
books? Okay, all right, that makes sense. I just didn't know what that was for sure.
We're not gonna charge them for,
Right,
Become a
Yeah.
planning board or
Yeah.
whatever.
to come do the work, yep.
okay. Yeah, I just needed clarity on what it was.
MTA does the same thing.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, and then part D, under section 10, it says here, if any, part D. My notes, I kind of did shorthand notes here. If any planned work is ultimately not budgeted through the state or federal appropriations, will the MDOT assist in insist in securing alternative funding, like like an MPI or something, to at least do some of the work? So prior conversations with the council, they did indicate a willingness to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
And
the
so-
non-appropriation?
Yeah, so it basically says here, if we don't get federal funding, it doesn't obligate anybody to do anything. But I would like, I don't, maybe they can't put that in here legally, but I know we've had like a verbal commitment that they would help us pursue other types of funding. But if we could put something to that in reference to this, in the cooperative agreement.
Yeah, you could say, I mean, agreement does not create any obligation on MDOT's behalf, but MDOT will assist the municipalities in
Securing
securing
alternative,
alternative
Right.
appropriations.
right.
I think that would be,
I mean, I'm aware that any other funding sources like an MPI would not be enough to cover the entire
Right.
cost of what we're trying to do here, but at least it would help us do
Yeah.
some of it.
no, I think that's fair, sure. It gets it in there and it doesn't and they're still not obligated, so.
Mhm. Okay, that's what I had. Josh, you had some, which packet page were
Yep,
you on for that?
let's see,
That
so,
was-
the first one, the one that kind of set me off was the packet page 61, which we went over, which was the MDOT agrees to consult.
Yep,
And the rest of mine were kind of also following that line, and again, all I may be doing here is exposing my ignorance to tort and legal law, but on packet page 63, section 8, subsection A. Again, it just has the project scoped. MDOT will consult with the municipality before implementing any adjustments to the scope of the combined work. And there's, all that says is they will talk to us. And then again, to me, it reads as if it weren't a trusting partnership that we are pretty much giving away any right to edit or add anything or to say this is really not what we were going with in the first place. And again, and I don't know if this is standard boilerplate agreement for dealing with a type of organization like this, but it was just, again, following up with the one, I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that the town has the right to say, you guys are going down the wrong track, or you're cutting the wrong thing for absolutely make this survivable.
well, I think I think any question that any of us raises is not a bad question, because none of us our lawyers, but I've had experience in my past life with construction, commercial construction and scope of work stuff. And at this stage in time, we've all agreed on the final design. So if we change the scope of the work at that point in time, they're basically saying that they'll consult with us, but they're not making any more of a commitment
Right.
than that, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a problem with the way this is written,
Okay.
but I don't have a problem adding something either if someone feels it will make them more comfortable.
Is there a different verb that you would, that would make you feel better, Joe?
May consult and, it's also much easier to just criticize rather than actually provide anything.
But it says they will consult.
Will consult, yeah.
I mean,
Shall,
consult,
what about if you do shall consult, or shall, no, shall consult and.
Will and shall are equal.
Right, shall consult, well, get the, no, that's, you're right, I don't have any alternative, because then it says will consult and get the approval of, which I think is definitely drawing a line farther out than I feel comfortable with.
Yeah,
But if it is generally comfortable to people to have that language in there, there's no hill on that I'm gonna die on here.
well, consult is different than inform, if it said
Right.
inform,
Right.
It's a two-way.
I would, that would send a flag up for me.
All right,
Yeah, I mean,
Consult doesn't guarantee you're gonna get
that's,
what you want,
Right.
but,
well, at least they're having a conversation with
Yeah.
us, though.
so,
cool. And this one I made a note on, and then I read the portion of it, and I can't remember exactly what my bug was, but essentially the state of Maine's rights of set-off.
Yeah, I just didn't know what that meant.
yes, I don't either.
Yeah.
Officially, set-off is an equitable right of a creditor to deduct a debt it owes to the debtor from a claim it has against the debtor arising out of a separate transaction. Exactly,
That was
but
illuminating.
my thought was there, does that go both ways? If by chance the state of Maine owes us anything, could we say we're taking it out of this pot instead, or holding anything against it for other? And again, that may just be a quick 2-second lawyer question
It
of,
feels like an Alyssa.
Right.
Or a, yeah,
and it was just, again, in the interest of not giving away too much at the outset without at least finding out whether this is standard, this is what it always does, or no, you can
Yeah.
actually input this
I
part.
had a question about that as well. I just
yeah,
didn't know
you
what
saw it
meant.
in your
Yeah.
notes. I have no idea what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
From
think
a
that's an
legal
Alyssa
standpoint.
question.
And then it went right, and then it actually probably in the same vein on the next packet, page 65, section J was the indemnification. It's the degrees that we hold the MDOT in the state of Maine indemnified against anything. Do we get the same assurance if the MDOT through negligence murders someone while doing the project? Are we then on the hook for it?
So long as
Or-
they do the same thing in reverse for us, I think.
That was exactly,
Yeah.
is there, and is
Yeah.
that a viable
That's a good,
place of
good
contract
question,
law?
yeah,
I think that may also be an Alyssa question.
Yeah.
I think it's a good one, good point.
yeah.
That's what I got.
Okay, great.
Did anyone else want to go through there?
We've been kind of doing mine as we go, thank
Okay,
you, so
all right.
I don't have anything else to add.
Anne, did you look like you had more?
Ann had a bunch.
Never asked me
That's good.
to edit a document. Okay, so, here we go. Under F, under recitals,
You have a packet
F,
page?
which would be package page 56. I just wanted to do a math check here. What percent of the total initial design cost is the amount of gray? Has it, I'm sure we have a figure, but how much money have we already invested in the Yarmouth Road design? I guess that's my question. Because my question is this a good deal for the town? You know, if they let us off the hook for any contributions, I guess that's a good deal. But I don't know how that squares also with later under P5A, financial obligations, because they kind of reference this. I'm sorry, under page 5. Okay, so it's I'm sorry, A, financial obligations, so that would be, sorry, I was looking at the original
Yeah, I was too, and I made my
agreement.
notes.
I'm out of phase here, but I flagged it later on. So anyway, I guess without dragging this out too much, I guess I was just concerned that, I just wanted to think that through a little bit more. So the good news is that we don't have to come up with any more money for the initial
Correct.
design phase, so I
Right.
guess that's fine, that's not it.
Well, but I mean, I don't know how easily staff could pull together what we've spent so
I
far.
think we
but-
knew that number at one point, but I could search for it.
I mean, if the staff could pull that together, I
Let me-
wouldn't want them to spend a huge amount of time on
Let me
it,
send a
but-
quick note and see what we
Yeah.
can,
We really, I mean, we have our staff time in it, but then most of it, it's got to be Goral Palmer.
Right.
and
Right.
then legal.
I mean, that's more of just a point of reference for ourselves. I
Yeah.
don't know if we need to include that in this
Yeah, I
agreement.
agree.
But it would be nice to know if we're on par with the value we're receiving.
Doug did quite a bit of work on the right-of-way stuff, even
Yes,
though
that
that's
was a
all
lot,
been
yeah.
suspended, so, yeah.
Let's see. Under purpose, the first sentence, so that's later on that same page of 56. You'll see the first sentence says, the Gray VTP will build the arterial highways and streets, which I guess I brought that language over from their original draft of the purpose. But I'm sort of wondering about that use of the word arterial, because we were in the Vision Zero meeting last week, and somebody asked, how come Yarmouth can have a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit that they've had for years? And everybody I know has gotten a ticket in there for going too
Oh, yeah.
fast. But anyway, and because 115 goes into that and kind of comes out well, not so much the other side, but it comes into it. And and they said it wasn't an arterial. So I guess our Main Street and Yarmouth Road as well will remain arterial, so.
I mean, Main Street is a federal highway,
Mhm.
so I think that, which 115 obviously isn't, I think that figures into it, but there are definitions for that, though I don't specifically know, and a lot of times they do have, their design standards are associated with a lot of those terms.
Well, exactly,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, that's right. That puts them in the same category as higher speed corridors, and has allowed them to, design them as higher speed corridors all up until this point.
Arterial would, designs that I've seen are always wider lanes, and straightened curves and, basically taking the kinks out to increase the speed and
Right.
flow of
The-
traffic.
It's sort of the antithesis of traffic calming.
I mean,
Yeah.
the definition that, it's more of a hierarchy from what I can tell, just quickly Googling it. It says an arterial road or thoroughfare is a high-capacity urban road that sits below freeways or motorways
Yeah.
on the road hierarchy
So
in
it's,
terms of traffic flow and speed. So,
it's probably in part because it's connected to the turnpike too.
yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, I think it's worth just asking Dale about this and.
Yeah, what makes this
Yeah, I mean, just,
arterial?
because it makes me queasy, just to continue referring to it as an arterial road, but if that's, kind of what they have to do, I guess we'll.
Well, it's actually, I'm on MDOT's site now, and the PDF that they throw up is basically they're using federal classification standards for highways.
Okay.
So they have, and this might be important, they have principal arterial roads, they have minor arterial roads, and then they have collector roads.
Okay,
So it would be interesting, at least for us, to try and get this one characterized as a minor arterial road, if it can't be considered a collector. The collector is the first designation above a local road.
okay.
I doubt they would give us collector road status for that, but they might agree to the minor arterials, and without knowing a lot of the details, there could be some design benefits for us in the distinction.
Yeah,
That's an interesting question.
yeah, I thank you for looking that up, it's good to know. So anyway, I think we can move on from there. The next, I just really liked the description of needs. I mean, Krista's point into consideration, but this is on page 57. I think that really gets to more what we're talking about in this project. Let's see, next page, third bullet, under,
Scope of work?
yeah, the third bullet under I, yeah, it's just, I think you got that one, sorry.
Yeah,
never
the
mind.
202.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And I got the next one with the speed limit, under visual cues, I had the same comment. We already discussed that. The next page, under financial obligations at the bottom, this is where I was looking for earlier. I just wanted to make sure that these, the parties agree to share, using this $250,000 amount for the total cost of the initial design stage. I mean, so it's great that they aren't gonna make charges anymore, but I mean, do we get other credit? If we paid like for half of this cost or something like that, I mean, could we get credit against, the match for the raise grant, I guess, for anything over, I don't know.
I think they've said we can't do any work towards the raise grant beforehand. Like, we have to know ahead of, we've talked about how our TIFs are expiring, and we've let them know several times that they will need to bill us early, especially if
And they
the
can do
construction commences before our TIF or after our TIF expires, which they've agreed to do. But I think they can't do that until we've secured this funding, because we have to follow all the federal rules. So I'm not sure if we've already expended funds, if they can be applied to the, I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask, but,
Yeah, no, that's nothing to. Do you have a question?
Yeah, are we okay with the WB 67 and WB 50 turning
Turning
radius?
radiuses? Yes, I think so. That's a good question. I think.
I'm sorry, where are you?
It's packet page 59, and it's the first bullet at the top of the page.
Oh, yeah, so that's actually lower, the WB 50 is lower than what Dale was quoting us originally for
Right.
Shaker Road. He was
Right.
saying that he thought we would need the WB 67.
And I know the principal group has been arm wrestling with MDOT over the 115, over the Yarmouth Road Main Street intersection. And the amount of space the principal group's plan claws back in front of the Historical Society. And I know the last time all of the groups were in the room, MDOT was basically telling the principal groups their figures were wrong, and the principal group was telling MDOT they've used all the federal standards. So I'm curious how that will get.
I have an update.
Okay. you saw.
Yep.
Yeah, they wanted to do, Joyce Taylor, who's the chief engineer for MDOT, wanted to do a myovision study, which they install cameras that somehow track the trucks and can count how many big trucks go through there
And also see where they're going.
and where they're going.
And I think it also accounts for accidents that don't quite happen. They're the potential.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
that's a
like-
good one.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Lots of
those cameras, I believe, that data have been collected, I understand, and they're in the process of analyzing it. So we'll have real data in which to make that decision as
Okay.
opposed to
Right,
just.
and
people's
Principal
opinions.
Group has proposed some design solutions that might, that the DOT might be on board with. Like, I think they were proposing.
Can run over the curb.
Yeah, the mountable curbs
Yeah,
and
if you're
things like,
bringing a windmill blade
Yeah,
through town, that
exactly.
once every century,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay,
Thank
Yeah.
you, sorry.
Yep.
Just,
let's see,
You were on the cost sharing.
yeah, let's see, I think we're good with that. I'm going to the next page, so packet page 60, final design phase. The final design phase, I just was wondering, it quotes a $3 million final design phase estimate, and I'm just wondering what the source of those funds are, if that's the RAISE grant, or if that is some other source, and I don't know if we need to identify that, but it just,
I don't think that was the RAISE grant. I think that would be a separate, the way I'm reading it, it would be a separate cost.
but they do identify the federal share as being 24,
Oh, yeah, you're right, that does have a federal.
2,400,000 there, yeah. So I just was, I mean, that's just a curious, I don't think it's necessarily a big deal.
Well, they have the
but-
construction phase at 31 million, which,
So it's possible that the.
maybe that's where remember you were saying that you could increase the RAISE grant
Yeah.
from 25 to 30, maybe that's where
That's
that
comes
extra
from, that's
comes.
what I'm starting to think, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
Yeah.
maybe just asking them to clarify, that would be
yeah,
helpful.
that's just a clarifying question.
Mhm.
And just in general, as we were just discussing, the federal, unless they change it, the RAISE grant maximum federal amount can be 30 million. So that's just a clarifying question. I'm almost done. Under the next page, project design development, let's see, the first paragraph, last sentence, let's see, MDOT will share proposed designs. The last sentence, I guess that's really the top of page 62. That was kind of the same discussion that we just had.
Yeah.
And the collaborate piece.
Yeah, sorry. And the next page, under 4, let's see. Where it says, where the, I'm not sure which page I'm on, to be honest with you.
What section are you
Yeah.
in, B?
Where the MTA talks about taking the lead on different things, where is that section?
MTA?
MDOT, yeah, MTA.
Oh, it's B, section, the MDOT shall at a minimum be responsible for the following activities, and then it has bullets I through IB, 1
Yeah.
through 4 Roman
I
numerals.
through 4, yeah.
Yeah, and then, that's right, and it's just really just, could we add MTA and regarding the
Oh.
stormwater?
Yep,
Mhm.
that's a
Yeah,
good
that's
catch.
good.
Prefer to
yeah.
add that explicitly.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell they cobbled this together because some of it's bulleted and some of it's Roman numerals.
Yeah, it's a mess.
There's not a standard outline format through the document, which might be something to ask for.
Yeah. And then the project milestones, I just flagged that generally. Are these the right, I'm not a traffic engineer, so I was looking for maybe Will's input on this. Are these
That's a
the
good
right,
idea.
are these the right milestones?
Krista added one.
Yeah, the
Yeah, you added one.
check-in
Yep.
before the PDR.
Yeah, I think that was a good one. And we already talked about the rights of set-off. And I just, under general provisions, which is on packet page 64, I just, actually, I'm going over into 65, under D, non-appropriation, and it basically says, I guess I'm a little, I guess it's that one, I'm sorry. I think it's somewhere in this section, I was concerned about, they're saying that future legislatures may not provide them with funding, so that would let them off the hook. And it's kind of like, well, but the same could be true of the town, right? Future councils might decide not to go along with it and fund it, so, but we don't, they're giving themselves an out, but do we get the same out?
Fair enough.
And earlier explicitly it says if we pull out for monetary reasons, if we break
Yeah.
a contract because we don't have the money, we're still on the hook for all the fees up front and whatever is
Right.
outstanding.
Yeah, so I just feel like that isn't quite fair.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, wanted to talk to them a little bit about that as well. So
No.
that's it for me.
Notwithstanding any other, I've never used notwithstanding in a sentence.
Really?
No.
Maybe we should start.
Notwithstanding.
Yeah. That's it, those were my remarks.
Okay. Any other additions, comments?
I assume that our attorney's been combed through this version, have they?
I have not submitted it personally.
I mean, I think certainly before we sign, we would want
Yes.
to have it
Yeah.
done, but we're at that's almost the next step, it feels to me.
Right, I feel like once we have a final draft, those are contradictory statements, but,
Yeah, so
Yes,
after we go through this
Right.
process and we come up with what they call the final
Yeah.
version, then we'll go,
then
yep,
we should submit it to,
yep, that makes sense.
A draft that doesn't have Biddeford's name on it.
right. Right.
You're just aiming too high.
Should I add that to the list? Take Biddeford's name off this. So, yeah, can we just talk next steps, like how we're
Yeah.
gonna navigate from here forward? I mean, Dale has asked for a meeting with me and with whomever else from the town next Tuesday, and, I guess we won't be patching Josh in, but, so, and he has some other things on his mind, but I don't know what the appropriate strategy is for conveying these I can certainly compile the list and get it back to them.
Well, we have a check-in tomorrow with principal group, right?
Yeah,
So, I mean, could we kind of go over some of these things with principal and then submit kind of all of our comments over email to DOT? And then if Dale has any issues, we could speak with him next week or go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'd be okay with either you or Ann or both of you putting together our final draft from this conversation and submitting that to MDOT.
Yeah, if,
um,
yeah.
yeah.
For them,
I imagine we have this in a non-PDF format somewhere,
Oh, yeah.
that we could
Yep,
edit.
yep, yep.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, if you guys don't mind doing
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
I would
that's
think
fine.
that would save time.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Because we've sort of hashed through this part and we know what the edits are.
Right, I mean, we have to post, we can post this on the 19th agenda, and then if we have to table it again, we can.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say we have to post that on Tuesday, but,
I mean, did they give you a date when they would like to have this wrapped up,
No.
other than as soon
no,
as possible?
and we're not on the timeline for a spring raise grant application at this point, cause
So
they
there
said
isn't
that wasn't
urgency.
realistic,
Yeah.
yeah. But, I mean, they can't begin any of the design work until we sign this, so,
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
we do wanna move through
we
it.
do wanna move
as-
I mean,
forward.
if we could theoretically, vote on a final version on the 19th, that
Mhm.
would certainly be the,
Yeah, if we could get it in before the new year, I would be pleased with that,
I would
but,
love to, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
perhaps we can, I like that idea for kind of putting our version, although I don't know how we would do it's gonna get convoluted if we do track changes.
Well, right now, after the conclusion of this meeting, I'm gonna go back to my office and send everyone at least the Word document that the MDOT provided us, so at least everyone has that
Okay,
version of it. And I think they sent us both in changes tracked and changes accepted.
okay,
So that way you'll be working with both of the raw data from that, and then if you take their changes accepted one,
right, and then we
then
can
that
track
becomes our
changes
master,
from
then we
our,
track that changes back.
yeah,
so
that
they
would
can-
work, yeah.
And they'll have a 400-page
Maybe
council
we should do a Google Doc, yeah.
because of meetings. That is the bad part. And they want to have a meeting outside of public purview. That is all.
Yeah, no. Okay,
So and we could, I don't know how you would like to work creating the draft, you just took
I'll create a
copious
draft
notes.
and send it over to you, how about that?
Okay, yeah, that would be fine.
Okay, I'll try and get that done tomorrow.
thank you
Okay.
both for doing
Yeah.
that.
Mostly Ann, but yeah, thank you.
Well, I'm meeting with the principal group too.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to hear what they've been up to.
Right.
I did just get a note from Carlos tonight that he's leaving the principal group at the end of the year. Yeah.
Carlos!
I know, and so, but he asked that we rope Russ and Sarah on their staff into future communications.
Okay.
Bummer.
Bummer, I know, I like working.
Yeah.
Okay, so, it's not up for vote yet, but when we get to, item number 8, we'll have to table that since we're not gonna be approving the cooperative agreement tonight. So I will proceed, we've already done action items 1 through 5 as an adjustment to the agenda, so I'm going to proceed with action item number 6.
Which is
So,
Designating the
clerk.
town clerk.
Yeah.
right,
Okay.
so I'm looking for a motion for the Gray Town Council to appoint, Gray Town Clerk Britt Barton as the second acting town manager in the absence or removal of the town manager and the acting town manager.
So moved.
second.
So thank you for considering this. This is my brainchild. John was out on vacation last week, and I woke up with morning with an upset stomach. And I was just like, what happens if I call out sick today, or if I was so sick that I could not show up? There's no chain of authority established beyond the town manager and their immediate replacement. And in the event that something dire needed to happen, like an emergency authorization that could only come from a town manager, you just need something in that gap. So this is not any kind of permanent appointment thought. This is very much survive the day. And if the first 2 people are down, it gives you space to know who the third one is. And if it were more prolonged, like perhaps John and I both won the lottery and run away, or something happened to us both and we're unable to work, it would get the town through the day and then still give the council the time to actually appoint a more permanent replacement in lieu of the number 1 or number 2.
Yep, I think it's also a great idea for, the emergency management plan that we have, and, I don't know if Chief would be interested in updating, that. I don't think we have a second acting manager in there noted, but it would be good to know. Go ahead,
I was just gonna
Matthew.
say, how does Brit feel about it?
Yeah, well,
She was okay with it. And I was also thinking too of moving it away from just naming Britt to making the town clerk.
Yeah,
So the
titles.
position versus, the
Yeah,
position versus
right.
the person.
Yep,
okay.
And just, I guess a question about the wording here, because okay, so, I mean, normally, you have a town manager,
Mhm.
and then the town manager is out for the day, and that would make John the acting town manager, okay? And then this would be the second acting
Right.
town manager. But, I mean, in fact, in our current situation, you're the acting town manager.
Well, I'm the interim
Who's the
town manager.
Oh, you're the interim.
As
Oh,
of after
oh,
tomorrow,
got
when I
it,
go
got
home,
it.
John is in the acting town manager,
Got it.
or actually officially interim acting town
Got
manager.
it. Got it, got it.
I think personally, I don't wanna accuse you of overthinking it,
I will
But-
plead guilty to that.
but I think that if we go to putting positions, I think we could simplify it by saying in the event that the town manager's not available, the HR director will be the acting town manager. In the event that the HR director isn't available, the town clerk will be the acting town manager. And just simplify it that way would be
Yeah.
my
Yeah, I
suggestion.
I agree.
So do we want to amend the motion, or do we, to just the position, or do we want to put it in that sequence?
Yeah, I want to amend the motion to put it in the sequence that Dan just said.
Okay, so it was,
And it would, so in the absence of the town manager, the human resources director
tell
becomes the
tonight,
acting town manager. If the acting town manager and the town manager are unavailable, the town clerk becomes town manager.
Acting town manager.
Or Howard, yeah,
okay.
acting town manager.
Marty and Ann, are you okay with those
Yes.
Yes.
changes?
And I think it's important, I just want to say for the public, it's, we have we have positions assigned particular duties, so it's clear when the event that there's a question, people know who to turn to. In the event that someone is ill or there's an emergency of some kind, obviously you're working on Plan B. And none of the staff are working in a vacuum. I mean, they each bring their skills to the effort for the town. And in the event that the manager wasn't available, in the event that the person designated next in line wasn't available, and if it fell to the clerk, that person's not working in a vacuum. They have all the department heads at their disposal to help them answer any questions that come up. And as Josh said, it's a temporary thing. So I think it makes more sense to have it be clear and a repeatable process than to get overly concerned about, does a person in that position have all the skills needed? Because you're not, that's not the way you're working at that point in time, so.
Okay,
Right.
just to clarify the motion, so it will read instead, to order in the absence or removal of the town manager, the Great Town Council appoints the HR director as acting town manager and the town clerk as the second acting town manager. Is that?
I would say in the event that the acting town manager isn't available, the town, it goes to the town clerk, or, I can't remember how he said it.
It was, because I also wanted to cover in the event that if the human resources director was already not available, like he was on vacation,
Right,
that then would skip, so it would be like, in the event that the,
But it would be anyways.
Yeah.
That automatically happens.
right, because if they're blank, then it
Doesn't matter
automatically
why
goes to,
they're
right,
out, whether
right.
they're sick or they're on vacation, it automatically goes to that third person.
okay,
Yeah.
so in the absence or removal of the town manager, the Great Town Council appoints the HR director as acting town manager.
In the event the
In
HR
the event
director
the HR director
is
is
unavailable.
absent
well.
or removed,
Yeah, yep,
then the Great Town Council appoints the
town clerk,
town clerk
yes.
Acting town manager.
as acting town manager.
I think that's
Is everyone
probably
okay?
as concise as
Marty
you
and Ann, are you okay?
Don't ask me to repeat that,
Okay,
but yes.
Okay. All right.
Well, it's hard to figure out how to do it in theory. Imagine trying to do it the day of something.
Yeah.
There's no
No,
town
I
manager,
think
no
it's
human
good.
resources
It's
director, so that was really
better
just kind
to
of trying
be
to cut through
prepared,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right, Ann,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes,
Marty,
Yes,
Matthew,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes. Okay, action item number 7 is to review and approve an amount not to exceed $11,673.43 from blank to fund costs associated with the extension of the village area loop trail. And we're looking to either determine to use the sub D recreation account or the enterprise account for these funds.
And it was identified by, in the memo in the packet is a memo from the finance director recommending the use of sub D to fill the fund for the vault overage.
this is that was agreed to earlier.
Yep, this money was agreed to earlier, this was stated, and then it was a little bit vague as to whether it came out of the enterprise or sub D, so this is just a clarification on that
Right.
point.
So, right,
Well,
we-
let's take a motion and then we can
Oh,
talk
sorry.
about what we're deciding. So I just, the initial motion will be, we won't determine which fund it is, but then we'll decide and then I'll
So
amend the motion.
Yep.
Okay,
I'll second it.
okay, right. So, yeah, as Josh was saying, when we were redoing the budget this summer after the failed vote in June, it was brought to our attention that the extension of the village area loop trail, the expenses were exceeding the budgeted amount for the grant,
Yep,
mostly due to rising costs of supplies. And so we had a conversation about funding the difference either through the sub D recreation account or the enterprise account, which is also collected from recreation funds. Justine and Josh looked into the best way to do that, and it sounds like Justine feels like the sub D account would be the most appropriate,
Yep.
and that the balance is sufficient.
That memo's on package page 214.
Right, thank you, I
Yeah.
was trying to get there by scrolling.
So do we need an amendment to the motion?
Well, I had a question before we do that, so, it's not clear from Justine's memo here, whether her balance total includes some of the anticipated funds for FY '24 that we had designated as part of the sub D that might not have been charged to those accounts yet. So, we had put aside $43,000 for a match for a grant we received to fix the boat ramp at Wilkie's Beach. And then we had put another $20,000 to fund additional loam at the Stillwater Acres site. And we also had set aside $50,000 out of that account to match a potential grant for moving Douglas Field over to the Gateway property. which has not occurred yet. We haven't applied for that grant, so
Okay.
those funds haven't been expended, but we had kind of designated them in anticipation of that. When we were talking about this, the sub-D account had a balance, according to this paperwork I have from March, of $130,000, $130,508.41, which would have left the sub-D account with those deductions with $17,508.41. So I don't know exactly what her figures are reflecting.
Top of my head, I don't have that answer.
Okay.
So would you like a table and revisit this next time?
I know we have like a bill waiting, so if we table it till the 19th, do you know when the due date is for the bill?
That I do not.
Oh,
Go ahead. Or-
I was gonna say, since it's a recommendation of the finance director, we can go ahead with that, and then if for some reason there was another adjustment that was needed, that could be made at a later date.
Yeah, so
Well,
in other words, if she
what
comes
could
back,
we-
if if you provide her that feedback, and if she comes back and says, oh, wait, yeah, you're right, we need to change this to another account, then she could bring that back to us, is that what
Yeah.
you're saying, Dan? Yeah. So, but we can
Could we
approve this.
shift where the monies are coming from after they've already been spent, though? Like, if we approve this distribution of $11,000 from sub-D, and then we realize later we don't have those funds,
Well, it sounds like we do, though it would deplete the account.
it would deplete, right?
But again, I guess if that's her recommendation, I'm okay going with that, knowing that, for instance, if the grant that you talk about, moving Douglas Field, we would have to find an alternate source to pursue that grant.
Go ahead, Matthew.
well, what I thought I heard was that if we approve this and the finance director, can pay the bill, we're all set. But if she looks at it and says, oh, you're right, maybe we need to revisit where this money comes from, without paying the bill, she could come back to us.
That's true, but I think that the previous scenario is more likely. It would deplete the funds so that there weren't enough funds to apply for the grant, and we would be forced to look elsewhere for that money.
Well, I don't think it actually would deplete it totally, because
No, not
it would
completely.
be,
Gonna draw it down.
it would draw it
pretty
down
close.
to,
$12,000.
yeah, like a really low
Yeah.
number, but it wouldn't be technically depleted, but,
I guess that's why I'm okay moving forward with it
Okay.
as is myself.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah. All right, yeah, maybe, I agree, I think we should move forward, but if Justine could just do a little more research on, how she came to that figure and,
Yeah.
what that means for these,
Douglas Field grant.
yeah, the Douglas, things
application.
we've
Yep.
anticipated as funding, but we haven't actually done so yet. And we actually might have already spent the boat ramp match, cause I think Mo, didn't he was that was an FY '24 work plan for the Wilkes
It was gonna be
Beach.
done in the fall,
Right.
which is when the water level was
Right.
theoretically lowest, but this year that wasn't the case. so I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
true, it wasn't very low this fall, yeah, so I don't know if he was able to do that work, but, yeah, okay.
Usually at the end of summer, Crystal Lake looks more like its original name of Dry Pond, but this year it wasn't the case.
So, who made the motion? That was me, right?
So, wait, I had it written down here, sorry. Yeah, you made the motion, Dan seconded,
So
I
we
can't
need
speak
to
anymore.
amend it to say that.
Yes, we need to
insert
amend it,
sub-D.
right, to,
Take the money from this.
take the money from the sub-D
Sub-D.
account, yeah.
Can I propose that amendment, or is somebody else have to do it?
You can propose it, and, yeah, Dan could say whether he agrees or not,
Yeah, I'll second that.
okay?
Okay.
Okay, so we should vote, I'll read it again. Order the Greytown Council approves moving an amount not to exceed $11,673.43 from the sub-D recreation account to fund costs associated with the extension of the village area loop trail. Okay, I'll go to vote. Matthew?
Yes.
Marty?
No,
Dan?
Yes.
Anne?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. Okay, and then action number 8, I actually am looking for a motion to table, to review and act upon approving the
So
main
moved.
department.
Second.
Yeah. Okay, Matthew?
Yes,
Marty?
sorry. I was
Yes.
elsewhere for a minute.
Dan?
Yes.
Anne?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. Okay.
Woo! We got through the action items.
Well, we had one
No,
more.
one more.
One more.
We have
This
no,
blows up, it's your fault.
new number 9, which is the proposal from RHR for audit services, and I don't have wording for that, so I'm not exactly. Let's see.
3-year contract, each year $22,125.
Is that, and
No,
Well,
sir.
we can use that. We can actually use some language up here from our, can steal from our bidding thing. We could
There's,
authorize. Should we authorize the town manager to sign the con? I think we should authorize it. Where?
Yeah.
What packet page does that? start
11.
on? 11. But then the monetary figures aren't.
Is the request for the proposal, their proposal is actually on page 19, and Justine's summary is on 39.
Justine's summary doesn't have the
Doesn't have the price in it.
amount.
The contract
Where was
is-
it was.
Hang on.
I know I saw it in here, and
Yeah,
it
it's
was
in
like
here.
22 something for, like Marty just said, for each year.
Packet page 36
Yeah.
Thanks.
for $22,125 for each
Oh, there it is. Yeah,
year
that's odd, isn't it?
of a 3-year contract. Which,
FY23 to FY25.
yes. Because we have the year that we haven't audited yet, so.
Right. So, so the Greentown Council authorizes the town manager to sign the proposed bid from RHR. It's their official name. RHR Smith and Company
For auditing services.
for auditing services for years FY23 through FY25 in the amount of $22,125 per year for 3 years,
With an option to extend the contract 2 years,
with an option to extend the contract for 2 years.
which is what we've been doing.
So, as I just read, I'm looking for a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
I don't, did they actually offer the option of extending it 2 years in there? I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's not, it was talked about, but it wasn't in the proposal.
Okay.
And it can be, I mean, that can be struck too, if that becomes an issue with them.
No, I'm comfortable with giving the town manager that option. We had
Yeah.
talked
Yeah.
about going out to bid for these professional services every 5 years, so,
For 3 years with
so
an
that would
option
make it
to-
5
yeah.
years.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is a company that we haven't worked with in the past, right?
No,
No,
we
they are-
have, they're our former auditor.
Former auditor.
Yeah, that we went out to RFP, while they were still finishing our FY22 audit, and then they did not choose to submit in the first round, but they have since decided to submit in the subsequent round. I
Okay.
don't know if Dan and Marty have any other things they'd like to share from your finance committee meeting or the recommendation?
That's the only thing we discussed was the auditor, right?
No, I just meant about the auditor in particular, I don't know.
In sort of, it wasn't, they in fact were the only one to submit a bid for the RFP. We did have a discussion about whether we needed to go out again. We had hired Keel and that association. Unfortunately, I think everyone knows now, he passed away shortly after we we made that decision. Our HR has been our auditor for forever. They have over, close to 400 municipalities and other government agencies that they audit. They audit many of the towns around us, and other groups. So they're well known to us, we're well known to them. And I think that because we have, I think both parties are in a different place now as a result of all the changes that have happened. So I feel confident that, reestablishing our relationship with them there's no need to go out to RFP again. And quite frankly, I don't think that if we did, we would get any other bids. The industry is kind of unraveling. Not only are people not going into the accounting field, but a lot of accounting firms have stopped taking municipal audits on, or even have started dropping them. So it's critically important that we have an auditor. I think we would all
Yeah.
agree to that.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm all in favor of signing up with RHR again.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for that.
GPCOG has tossed around the idea with combining with other municipalities to jointly hire an auditor, but that's sort of a brainstorm at this point.
Yeah.
I don't think it's coming to fruition anytime soon, so.
So like put together a big package to make it
Yeah.
attractive to a bigger firm.
Yeah,
Correct.
Then you get kind of that mingling, and it's mingling of thought too, that's not,
well, I think if the industry continues on the way it is, I mean, the state is concerned. There are some, understand there's at least one community out there that hasn't been audited in 3 years because they can't find anyone to do their audit. So, it is gonna be a crisis at some point in time. I don't know how it will get fixed, but I think that's one of the reasons why thinking of ideas like that may be the way we have to go in the future.
Mhm.
County might also be able to help us out, I would think, too, possibly.
Okay, well, I think it makes sense to move forward, given their experience and both with us and other municipalities and the market situation with, we've gone out to RFP twice now and
Yep.
have gotten one response for both, so. Okay, so I'm just looking for a vote. Ann,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes,
Marty,
yes.
Matthew?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. Okay. Now we can be done with action items.
Yay!
All right, next up is the report from council chair. Just a few things. The GPCOG hosted kind of a convening of members from the state legislature on November 15th, which I attended. It wasn't super well attended by members of the legislature. There were about 3 or 4 of them there. I think there was a meeting going on in Portland in response to the mass shooting that had happened in Lewiston that same night. So some people that were anticipating coming actually were not able to attend. I did have some good conversations with one legislator from South Portland. I forget his name, Chris something. I can't remember his last name. He sits on the committee that oversees like funding for power infrastructure and things. So I was talking to him about the tax implications of solar arrays. He didn't really bite on it much, but at least I
thank you for waving the
Raising-
flag for
raising.
it.
Yeah.
Yep,
Thank you.
and then I also talked to Annie Graham, and I just thanked her for submitting legislation that will help amend LD1 and all that. So that's moving forward. We also, I'm sure Ann will go over, we met with Principal Group on the 17th to just move our work forward with the MDOT and the RAISE grant. I attended the Gray Tree Lighting on November 26th with my family, and it was really wonderful. I want to thank the Recreation Department Facilities for organizing that, and it was pretty good turnout. The G&G choir was here, and Santa came also. And it was fun.
all the important people showed up.
Exactly. I was not able to attend, but the MDOT did host the virtual meeting for Route 100 North on November 27th. I'm hoping folks in the community were able to submit their comments, and we'll be hearing back from MDOT on their progress for that soon.
There's a certain amount of time after that meeting.
I believe so.
I can't remember when.
I'll get
it
that
ends.
covered. I got the notes on it.
Oh,
Okay.
you're great. So Josh will be talking about that in his report in a minute. Then I just want to note for the community that we met earlier this evening with Don Garish of Eaton Peabody, who's organizing our search for a town manager, and we're moving forward with interviews on December 14th for a first round. Those interviews will be an executive session just for confidentiality purposes for the people interviewing.
To start. Yeah.
To start, yes. And then we have another follow-up with Principal Group tomorrow, the 6th. And then we decided earlier on break, just in quick conversation, that we will have a workshop preceding our January 2nd meeting for budget conversations and planning around that. That's all I have for the chair report. Josh, you want to take over for town manager report?
Sure. First one is, I did a packet page for a flow chart that I worked up for the volunteer communications, which I'm sure cannot be read at all on a piece of paper, but if anyone did get a chance to look at it through the Teams, it's much more readable, and I hope that I worked with both Kyle in communications and Brett at town clerk, as well as her assistant or deputy town clerk, to make sure that we covered all of the possible scenarios that may encroach regarding our committee volunteers. So we charted out a course for an if-then, so if this happens, then this is gonna happen, and it delegates pretty clearly, hopefully, who is responsible for what standard communication letters we'll be sending to our volunteers, so we will hopefully never have a time where people are surprised their term expired or don't know what to do in order to get back on the committee, and also once they do submit their application to it, what actually happens then and when they're before committee. So hopefully, once, through all the work and through all the communications, hopefully we came up with a process that now makes this really easy and really obvious. So it was one of those, every string I pulled was another Volkswagen attached to it buried in the sand, but hopefully this definitely got some momentum under something. As I said, if this is the one thing I can get wrapped up during my time here, I will be incredibly proud. So, and again, and thank you to all the volunteers out there who have been filling out the nomination papers and keep on showing up. So we did sign with Androscoggin Bank a lease for two electronic or e-vehicles, and last time I did not have any of the data on that, and I apologize for that. Luckily, we did not have too big of an impact due to the delay in the failure of the June budget. We moved from a 5.95 fixed percentage APR to a 6.5. In total, this cost us about an extra $1,300 in interest over the course of a 3-year lease. It does increase the overall standard payments we need to make in years 2 and 3 for this, due to the fact that in the original budgeted amounts that we were presented, one of the vehicles was based on a really virtual quote versus any actual vehicle, and then we went out to actual bid with actual auto dealers. We found out that we were short, so that makes up for that. But all told, with a $2,000 extra per year over the next 2 years, we come in on budget for the vehicles that we had intended, the budget we had intended for those.
Okay. I was
So-
just, I guess my question was, I think we worded it so that we wouldn't need to re-vote on it, because we allowed you to negotiate the rate, but I just want to make
The
sure.
base price of the vehicles remain unchanged, so it's
Right.
only in years 2 and 3, the
Okay.
budgeted amount went up from 16.5 per to about 17.5 per.
Okay,
So I think that we worded it in such a way that that is acceptable.
okay.
Oh, covered that. So yeah, so the MDOT actually, everyone kind of thought it would be a Zoom presentation, but what it is an on-demand presentation for the Route 202 rehabilitation, which was fascinating to me, and it's an interesting way to gather input from people. But if people go to our website, it is linked out there, and there is a presentation with both words and little video clips for the work they're looking to do on Route 202, extending from a little bit before Wayne Avenue up to the New Gloucester border. It is open until December 15th, and they're actively soliciting any public input they have before the next stage of the project. It's about 2.38 miles for a full-depth reconstruction of the road. So I encourage anyone who is interested in the minutia or road work of the town to definitely give that a look, and please provide your feedback. They're definitely looking for it at this point in time. Again, thanks to Kyle Hediniak, who finally brought the town of Gray into kind of the first part of the 21st century by putting us on Instagram. So this is the concurrent to Facebook. We're kind of putting the same social media messages out there, but it is also an effort to communicate to people where they live rather than just saying we put our stuff out wherever we want to and you have to find it. So I hope that will help in the long term increase the communication from the town to the people. And I just want to remind people it is cold and flu season. We did have to close down the clerk's office for 1 hour due to a lunch break because for that day we had 2 people out sick concurrently. So I would recommend, I hate to say it, but it is cold and flu season. Maybe just take a look at the website before you come on down to town hall or go to a scheduled programming. We definitely have our help wanted sign in the window, so we are definitely hiring and running a little bit short in some places, so it's always just good to check, and we'll definitely try and let you know if we have any service disruptions, so thank you to everyone for working with us for those. And so thanks to Judy for holding down the town clerks all alone for almost 2 days straight with very few breaks, so you did it great, and I had to kind of tell her to stop and take a break. Additionally, Dean Bennett, who was formerly the Parks Rec Director and is now working for Buildings and Grounds, did announce his retirement at the end of this month. So that is 32 years to the service of Town of Gray. That is, we wish him as well on his way and thank him so much for all the years of dedicated service. And that is my town manager's report.
Thank you, Dean. Yeah, that's a long time, and we appreciate your service. Okay. Next up are committee reports, and Ann, I will start with you.
Okay, I just have the Resiliency Committee, making up for lost time. Resiliency has met twice since Thanksgiving. Members reviewed a spreadsheet Rachel Lynn Rumson provided on potential strategy areas and actions, working to narrow their focus to initiatives that are to recommend to the council that are meaningful to Gray and that they also have the time and the resources to, on which to be effective. The top 3 focus areas right now, I mean, this is just sort of from the brainstorming session on Monday night, but the top 3 focus areas included water quality and ordinance work, I think around shoreline, not shoreline zoning, but just some water quality stuff.
Yep.
Researching a micro-public, kind of a micro-public transportation pilot. There's been a lot of chatter about that. That would need quite a bit of research and planning and funding, and a number of educational efforts on resiliency. So those are the sort of top 3 general areas. The committee also has identified composting and wet waste reduction because that's a huge cost at our transfer station, and working with Chief Elkinich to further flesh out the town's emergency plan. And so we meet again next Monday. This most recent meeting was just a kind of a workshop, and our regular monthly meeting will be next Monday. And we'll kind of work through that more. I just want to note that this committee doesn't currently have a staff liaison, and I had flagged that, and I think I owe a response on that. So I hate to task a staff person with another committee, but it would be helpful for me personally to have somebody on staff who I can get to just set up the Zooms or whatever, So anyway, I'll be discussing that more. But really proud of this committee. The new people have jumped right in, and it's very exciting.
That's great. Okay. That was
That was
your
it.
one. Yep, okay.
For committee reports.
Dan?
I don't have any prior committee meetings to discuss. Planning Board has a couple of things coming up this Friday on the 8th. They'll be meeting for a site walk at Eagles Nest Road at 3 o'clock, I believe. Let me double check that. Yep, 3 p.m. And Planning Board itself will be meeting at its regular time on the 14th. And that's all I have for committee reports.
Okay. Marty?
Wild Blueberry will meet via Zoom on December 14th at 6:30 p.m. The Zoning Board of Appeals met on November 29th and dealt with 4 issues and will meet tomorrow night, December 6th at 6 p.m. at the library to finalize one of the arrangements that was made. And Finance met on 11:30 and agreed to an auditor, to hire an auditor, and the next meeting to be announced whenever we do it. I don't know when. And that's all I got.
Okay. Matthew?
Dry Mills School Committee met on November 20th. discussed shutting down the school, you know, for the winter and about, like the reopening event in the spring, and that sort of thing. Gray Community Television was, or that meeting, the last meeting was canceled, I think due to the Thanksgiving. And then, met with the rec committee last night, and of course we talked about the tree lighting, and their winter break programs, and they have indoor walking, and they're, you know, looking at developing more programs. There was a conflict apparently with the resiliency committee on the Zoom channel, and so we weren't able to use the town Zoom channel to meet, which raises some public access issues, and, you know, just, so this whatever happened there, that would be good to get that, you know, ironed out, that we don't have double booking of that channel or more capacity, or.
Yeah.
We
Right,
do
I
have
think
three-
they're gonna move to Teams, right?
Well, we're both moving to Teams as well as we have, that was just a scheduling error. There are enough Zoom licenses available to have 3 concurrent meetings through the town.
Okay,
Okay,
So that way, I think, was just miscommunication somewhere, so there
Yeah.
are some processes for that, just so you know.
okay.
all right, thank you,
All right.
yeah.
That's all I've got for past meetings. Dry Mills is gonna meet again December 18th. Gray Community Access TV is gonna meet on the 27th. And that's all I got. Rec will meet again in January.
Great, thank you. I had an OAC meeting on November 30th, where we talked about zoning updates that we might be forthcoming, particularly in rural areas. Further hashing out what the rural conservation looks like versus general rural areas that were identified in the comprehensive plan land use map. And we also had further conversation about open space subdivisions, mostly just getting feedback on the memo the council reviewed at a recent workshop. We're meeting again on December 21st. GPCOG last met in November on the 14th, which I gave an update for at our last meeting, and then they're on break for December and will reconvene in January. That's all I have for committees. Matthew, do you want to start us off for correspondence and activities?
I did not have any.
Okay. Marty?
Likewise.
All right. Dan?
I did watch the MDOT Zoom presentation about the Main Street North project. It was kind of weird. It wasn't an interactive thing. It was really like they had just tossed some stuff out on the web that you could look at. I would encourage anybody, though, who lives along that section of road to follow the link from the town's website. You can download the preliminary plans and see the work that they want to do. I also wanted to be clear to people what a complete reconstruction means. They're gonna dig up all of the pavement and regrade and build up the road. So they're going to be changing the elevation of the road along certain sections, and they're going to be doing a significant amount of work on drainage. And there will be some right-of-way work that they have to do, but MDOT will contact property owners if their property will be affected by the new designs, but it's in everybody's best interest that owns property along that stretch of road to check out the MDOT's website. And as Josh said, if you have any comments, get those to MDOT. You can do that right through their website by the 15th. And that's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Thank you for watching that and giving us an update. Anne?
Yeah, so I've continued supporting the Village Transformation Project through organizing and attending meetings and facilitating communication. I put together a summary of the town's efforts to improve the village over the last 20 years and was really struck by how much work we've done in the village, or tried to do, And some of it has been, really incremental, just doing a sidewalk here and there, but it became really clear to me that, the incremental approach isn't sufficient. We're not gonna get where we wanna go with that, and we need the total reconstruction that we're kind of anticipating now. As I noted in my monthly report, we're also working on a plan to better inform and engage the public in the VTP planning. This will be rolled out in January, and the Instagram account was part of that effort. And Kyle did mention that he had 60 people sign up for that almost right away, so that was good to have that done. We already discussed the MDOT cooperative agreement at length earlier in this meeting, but so this work is continuing, and I'm still very excited and optimistic about it. I also attended GP-COG's Vision Zero public meeting, which was held in the Gray Library last Wednesday. This introduced people to Vision Zero, which essentially, if you're not familiar with it, is just making sure there are no more deaths or severe injuries from traffic accidents by redesigning roads and doing other things. It provided opportunities also for people to map areas of Gray, New Gloucester, and Durham that were challenging for drivers as well as for bikes and pedestrians. So that was a good meeting, and a number of people from Gray were there as well as some from New Gloucester. I had an email from a resident regarding the new vault trail and the property lines it abuts, and if other people have heard these questions, I want to note that the town did hire a surveyor to survey the Gateway property so we know where the lines are, and so we worked with that property owner as much as we could to allay their concerns, including building a fence. I had a call from a resident about just questioning appointing the clerk as the second backup town manager. And I also had an email from a resident asking about if Gray could participate in the public bus program that, I'm blanking on the name of it, the one that goes up Route 302.
The Lakes Region Explorer.
Yeah, the Explorer. If Gray could have an Explorer kind of bus that would take people from the temporary parking lot there on 26, the MDOT lot, and
Ride.
yeah, park and ride. It's late. Park and ride. Thank you, and go into Portland, citing some interesting things. I mean, citing the difficulty in parking in downtown Portland these days, but also concerns about the really difficult homeless problem that Portland is dealing with right now.
We did have a bus link in our budget
Yeah.
originally last year, but it was one of the things we had to take.
That's what I thought, and I did mention that to him. But this was from a source that I wouldn't have anticipated. So it was interesting to get that, and shows that people are interested and might use it.
Yeah, I mean, I used to, the Zoom bus goes between Biddeford and Saco and Portland. And it's a great, very useful service for people that work in Portland. And if we could add something like that in Gray, it would be a real boon, I think.
Our plan was to link to the one in the Lake Region one, which runs up
right.
302 that goes from Bridgeton to Portland.
Yeah.
And so that was gonna be the access way for us, but that got cut from the last budget, so we'll see what happens next year.
There was a second option for just a bus to go down the highway with one stop in Portland, but I think that was more expensive.
Yeah.
And we thought it also was more functional for a greater number of people to link to the Lakes Region Explorer, because it would give people options to go to both Portland and all the way to Bridgeton.
Yeah.
So.
And, or shop in Wyndham.
In Shop and Wyndham,
Yeah.
Right, I didn't mean to suggest.
No, but we could potentially reach back out to
Yeah.
RTP this budget cycle if folks would like to do that.
Yep, they tried very hard to help us put together
They
a
did,
plan
yeah.
last year.
Okay, thanks, Anne. You were done, right?
I'm done,
Yeah, okay. And then I had a couple emails, one from Erin Watson about the public hearing we had at our last meeting about 99 Depot Road, and I still need to get back to her, so I apologize for that. I also had an email from Mary Underwood, just letting us know that she is planning to do some profile videos around town. She's hoping to do those soon, particularly with businesses and residents who use our recreational facilities. I also had an email from Sandy Carter from the Resiliency Committee requesting a workshop for resiliency. I believe she was requesting one in January, which seems likely at this point, so I will have to get that on the schedule. I also had an email, interestingly, from Tom Bell of GP Cog. He runs communications there. He was reaching out to me and a member of the Wyndham Town Council and a member of the Standish Town Council, inquiring about whether we think there would be any interest from municipalities in hiring essentially a GP Cog staff member that would be designated as a communications professional for several towns, similar to the model they were proposing for an auditing service, except this person would be employed by GP Cog and then funded through the various municipalities. I haven't responded back to him yet, mostly because I was curious whether folks think that's a good idea. He didn't know until recently that we have a communications director on staff, and we have for the last few years. So he was saying he wasn't sure if that would really be something we'd be interested in. I don't think we would, because Kyle's an excellent employee who does a great job for us. But I would certainly give him feedback about whether folks thought that would be useful for other municipalities, if anyone had an opinion on that. I don't know. I know that animal control officer has been tossed around as something that some municipalities can go in on jointly. I don't think anything like this really exists yet, but there is a need for smaller municipalities to have resources that they potentially can't
Pool
hire.
resources, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea is good, but, I mean, pooling resources to get an employee to cover several towns.
Right.
Obviously, yeah, I don't think we need the communications director
No.
service.
Yeah, I'll get back to him. I mean, obviously, it's not something we would pursue, but just, whether people thought it was a good idea, I can let him know. That's all I had for activities and correspondence. So now I am looking for a motion to adjourn at 9:42 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I will give it to Anne and Matthew. Okay, thanks everyone for hanging in there. Have a good night.
We need to.
Oh, we need to vote. Yeah.
We can't leave
You
it.
can't leave yet. I'm tired too. Okay, Matthew,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Anne,
Yes.
and I'm also yes. Okay, this time definitely good night, everyone.